Good evening, and welcome to another episode of James Bond Radio. This is podcast number 52, and my name is Chris Wright. With me is my good friend, fellow Bond aficionado, all the way from the Isle of Wight, Mr. Tom Sears. Say hello, Tom.
Well, good evening, Chris. How are you today?
I'm not too
You
bad.
sound like
How are you?
you sound like the host of a political discussion or something today. I like your vibe.
Well,
it's nice.
Spectre could be political. You never know.
Absolutely. Apparently, there are
Yeah.
villains from lots of different countries in this one. So
There are.
so we'll see.
And there's internal political sort of stuff going on as well. Isn't there?
Indeed, at MI6, indeed. So, how you been this week? You been good?
Yeah, I've been alright. I've recovered after my my bout of illness last week, so I'm raring to go again, which is pretty cool.
Lovely stuff.
I'm getting just getting excited. Pretty much every day is that little bit closer to Spectre, and yeah,
It's not long now, is it? It's not long now
Not
at
at
all.
all.
Today is the 18th of September, and it comes out on the 26th of October. Oh, exciting times.
Yeah, we'll have to have a little pre-celebration on the 26th of September when it's a month to go,
Definitely.
and just get a couple of Vespers down us, and
Get
just
involved.
party on into the night.
Lovely stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Chris, but we've been the recipient of what I would call the world's greatest photoshopping this week. JBR listener Brett Spencer took it upon himself to basically recraft the Spectre poster. You know, the white one with the big 007 in the background. Danny Boy stood there holding his gun. And it's got the little kind of Baron Samedi kind of montagey bit across the numbers. And he's basically duplicated Daniel and stuck my head and your head on the top. And it looks brilliant. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but what I'm saying is when Daniel hangs up his Walther, I'm just going to send that picture to Barbara. I think it's going to be all right. I think it's going to be sold.
It's going to be all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Agent Sears, ready for duty, sir.
Apparently, Steve Batchelor said we look like a pair of knitwear models, but that to me is a good sign because Roger used to model a bit of knitwear and George used to model a bit of knitwear as well. So we're in good company.
I think that's the first step to becoming Bond, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how you earn your chops. You do a bit of knitwear modelling, and then the next step is Bond. I like it, good stuff. But yeah, we basically stole it, and it's our new cover photo on Facebook. So if you want to have a look, go and check out our Facebook page and Brett's amazing Photoshop work. Good on you, Brett. Thanks for that. Good stuff. That put a smile
he
on our
happened
face.
to do one or two others as well, didn't he?
Yeah, we won't mention those ones.
I was going to say, thankfully, we haven't put those as our profile picture. So hopefully they're hidden away under lock and key.
They're in there somewhere. You can dig through and you can see Chris's head on Leah Sadu's body, which I found strangely alluring, actually. I must be honest. And my head on...
That wasn't actually Leah Sadu's body. I just found the dress. And,
you look amazing in that dress, dude. Goodness gracious me. Yeah, you really rocked that. And the other one was my head on Jinx's body, which I don't know how I feel about. But there we go. Good work nonetheless. Excellent work, Brett. Now, in other news, I had an exciting dream last night. I'm one of those people that rarely ever dreams about anything. But last night I had a very specific dream, and that dream was
sounds good.
The premiere of Spectre. We went to see it, and all I remember are two things: that we sat down, lights went down, theme kicked in, and the white fucking spots came across the screen, and the gun barrel was there, and I had a little romantic explosion in my undertrousers. Now that, I'm hoping that's a premonition, and that's what we get.
It's got to happen.
I have missed that so much. Have you missed the gun barrel?
Like I've missed a gun barrel for ages. I think Casino Royale, a little bit different. Fine, go with it. Quantum of Solace, 100% should have had it. That would have been a perfect lead into that shot going towards the tunnel where the cars are. Perfect. Skyfall, they said they couldn't do it because Danny Boy was walking to camera. Get rid of that wank bit of music. That was absolute piss poor wankness. Get the gun barrel in, and then away you go. Yeah. And it's like, it better happen. I just so hope it happens.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to happen this time. I've got a feeling because based on the fact that Mendes said it was going to go there, but it didn't work because of the opening shot. So I think this time it's either going to go one of two ways. I have a theory. It's either going to be back this time If it is, I am going to be so happy, because you know that it's that magical moment, isn't it? You sit down, it's a new Bond you've never seen, and that gun barrel starts, and that sets you up for the whole thing. And we haven't had it for so long now.
No.
So long. The last time we had it
bad.
was the worst film in the series as well. So it's so long ago. And yeah, so it's either going to do that, or it's going to be one of those little things where Daniel's gun barrels are never at the beginning, and
that's
all of his
bullshit,
and all of his films won't have it, and then they won't bring it back until the next dude comes along. I have a sneaky feeling that they might be playing that angle.
I really hope they don't, because, okay, think of it this way. Just imagine that dream is coming true. We're at the premiere. We're watching it. JBR armies around us. We're watching it. The music comes down. And then we see those dots, okay? Not only do we go mental and we're going to let out little giddy screams, because we will. We're not going to be able to keep silent at that point. But you see the white dot then open up, and what we're going to see, we're going to see fucking Chris. Massive skeletons in the background. Yeah. We're going to see like a big fucking Day of the Dead festival, all going ape, like, and that's what it's going to. It's either going to open up on the massive festival like that, or maybe it'll open up on one little skull, and then it'll slowly come out, and then you'll see a shot of it all. If it,
you see, that's the thing. That's the exciting thing about it, isn't it? When you watch all the Bonds, and then it's just that the spot stops in the corner of the screen, and then it changes to whatever it is, and then it just sort of opens out, and then you're in the film at that point. And oh man, have I missed that. And just you talking about it then has brought me out in chills all down my spine, man. I so hope that's what we get. I've come over all peculiar already, and we've only been talking 5 minutes. Goodness me. And the other thing was, I said there were two things I remember about the dream. Don't remember anything else about the film. That's all I remember. I'm taking it as a premonition.
That's probably a good thing.
I'm feeling good about that. The other thing was, I had to keep getting up throughout the film and going and taking a pee because I drank too much water beforehand or whatever it was, and I missed half the film because of that. So I'm taking that as a warning to not drink anything before the film. I might even dehydrate myself a few days beforehand, just so I'm in the that permanent zone where I just don't need to go to the bathroom, and that's it. So those are my two premonitions. I think for the premiere.
Alternatively, you could just get an empty canister with a tube. And then, it doesn't matter if you need to go, does it?
There is that. Do you know what? I have actually considered that before. In years gone by, I've actually thought... because
in the cinema?
Yeah, it has actually been like a worry of mine when a new Bond film comes out. I fucking hope I don't have to go and take a slash. And I did toy with the idea of having some sort of contraption fitted just in case, so I could just not worry about it. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to distract the JBR family, because they'll be all around us. Obviously, there's over 30 of us going to the Leicester Square showing. I wouldn't want to distract them with me getting my dong out.
I don't know if they'd know, unless it was a really quiet scene.
Thanks very much for that vote of confidence.
But you can imagine taking
everyone in the cinema would notice, Chris.
It would just be like the relaxation on your face, the calmness has settled in.
Yeah.
And if it was quiet, there'd be a slight trickle. But, I'm sure there's some sort of, mold that you could use to reduce the noise.
Yeah.
And, take it on Dragon's Den. It could be a winner.
There you go. You never know. The JBR invention of, I don't know what you'd even call it, but that's I think you got a good idea there.
The Hiwi.
Yeah. Very nice. Good stuff. So, anyway. Moving on. We got our two competition winners, didn't we, for the On the Tracks of 007 event happening next month. So who have we got, Chris?
So big congrats, because it was a huge competition this time around. Like it was so hard to choose. Obviously, we weren't allowed to choose. It was how many likes they got. Yeah. But we just had mountains of videos to choose from. Really.
Yeah.
So
we had
a tough call.
We had, out of all of our listeners, which is many thousands now, we had our first submission, which was great. That was from Mr. John Ward. And then
good stuff, John.
And then just before the competition closes, we had one more submission. So we had two submissions. So they sort of won by default. There was no real competition, really. They just submitted a couple of videos and then they won straight away. Good on them.
But equally, the videos were awesome, both of them. So I think it all deserves
You know what?
its own
Let's play those videos right now.
Let's do it.
There's a most remarkable girl back there with a deck of cards.
Okay, so that was John Ward's entrance. For anyone listening on iTunes, he was actually outside the Occult Voodoo shop in New York when he did that. He came right out around the corner, just how Roger walks, and did his immortal line. And next up, we have the entry from Agent Golden Voice himself, our other winner, Simon Woolley. Let's check out his video now.
You said when?
When?
Oh, thanks, Rafi.
Okay, Rafi. Do the double take now. Please? Never work with children or animals.
Agent Golden Voice, do the bloody washing up.
As you can see, I have no problem with female authority.
Okay, good stuff. So congratulations to John and Golden Voice. They're going to be joining us and every other Bond fan worth their salt at on the tracks of 007 event next month. That's on October 25th. So I'm sure we'll take lots of photos and videos and we can share them on the Facebook page. A bit of JBR bonding, so to speak, which will be nice.
And it'll be a lot of fun.
Good stuff. So have we had any Bond news to catch up on this week, Chris?
Yeah, a little bit. Nothing really Spectre related as such, but there's a few little things. So DK, the book publisher, are going to be releasing a James Bond Ultimate sticker book.
Oh.
Now, I had a little look. Obviously, it's going to be aimed at the younger generation, shall we say. But I tell you what, it looked bloody good. I was like, I haven't bought stickers since I was a wee lad, and that would have been football or, I don't know, whatever it is. But a proper James Bond sticker book, and it's got lots of little info in there as well, and all the gadgets and the vehicles and this, that,
they used to be huge, didn't they, those sticker books? Like, I didn't even know they still did them. Do you know what? The last one I did, I don't even know if that's if they have these outside of England, but it's basically a book, isn't it, with like loads of images from the film and little sort of empty squares where you go into the newsagent, you'll buy a pack of stickers, and you'll get like 10, say, in a little pouch, and then you basically go through any ones you don't have, you put in their little space in the book. They've all got a designated space. Yeah. And then you try and complete the album. And then obviously you end up with loads of swaps, don't you? Because, I've already got that one. So you swap it with your mates. I got that one, need that one, got that one, and you trade and all that kind of shit. I used to love doing that.
You get the special gold and silver ones as well, the shinies.
Yeah, the shinies. Shinies are rad. Do you know what? The last one I did, funnily enough, was the GoldenEye sticker book.
Really?
Yeah, that was the last one I did. Nice. So I'd have been 13. Yeah, they were the business.
Have you still got it?
I will definitely have it tucked away somewhere. That's for sure. Yeah, I'll have to try and dig that out.
Did you complete it?
Do you know what? I don't think I did. I might have done, but I got very close. I have a vague memory of there being like one or two left over that I just
You call yourself a Bond fan.
I know.
That's
but
just
what can I say? But yeah, I'm going to get involved in that, man. I'm going to get myself a sticker book. I'm going to start collecting.
Do right. It's released on the 2nd of November. And the cool thing is the stickers aren't just like squares like you would with the football sort of people or whatever. They are sort of, different shapes in relation to whatever the stickers might be. And there is a cool bit of info. Do you remember you used to get like sticks of gum with it as well?
Yeah.
The old sticks of gum with the stickers. Yeah, I don't think you get the sticks of gum with this one, but it was kind of cool. Wicked. So keep a lookout for that. 2nd November, Ultimate James Bond sticker collection.
I'm getting involved in that big time.
So there we are. Nice. We'll have to do little swapsies.
We can do swapsies. Yeah, we'll get the JBR family involved. We'll all end up with complete versions. Yeah, good.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. In other news, Daniel Kleinman, obviously title designer from quite a few of the Bonds, he's shot an advert for his Sony Electrics. Now, this is kind of like, it's got a Spectre tie-in. So Naomi Harris is in it, playing basically Moneypenny. She's sort of running away from villains, and there's sort of mysterious villains. I don't think you get to see them. And her mission is basically to give Bond his phone, which is obviously a Sony phone, as you'd guess.
Yeah.
But the fact that Daniel Kleinman sort of directed it is quite interesting. So I haven't seen the full thing. But yeah, that's probably worth a look if you want to check that out.
Yeah, that whole sort of like lead up to the film is starting to crank up a little bit now. We're seeing the first few adverts coming out. I saw Moneypenny draped over a Jaguar the other day at some event in Munich. Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. So we're just starting to see that. You remember like when we saw the Heineken advert come out prior to Skyfall and stuff. That machine's just starting to crank now, isn't it? So it's going to be super bondage in the coming weeks, man. It's going to be great.
I mean, it's going to be Bond everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere you look is going to be Bond, like everywhere. Yeah. So definitely looking forward to that.
Very nice.
There's a couple of other bits of news just regarding Sam Smith and Writings on the Wall. So he's basically said that his new track doesn't depart from his usual style. Okay. So this is exactly what he said. So he said, I wanted to inject as much me into the song and then dress it in a Bond way, if you know what I mean. I sing love songs, that's what I sing, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write a huge love song. So interesting, isn't it? So interesting. We know sort of power ballad, piano maybe, but he said it's a definite love song. So if it is a love song, who is it a love song between?
Well, maybe we're entering in. You remember how you had the Roger songs, you had Live and Let Die, you had Man with the Golden Gun, you had Nobody Does It Better, and then you entered this area of sort of like, well, not so much with Moonraker, but you had those sort of a couple of easy listening tunes, didn't you? You had All Time High and For Your Eyes Only. Maybe he's going to crank out one of those. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. But it's interesting because... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I envision this song. I've obviously had a little listen to Sam Smith over the last few days. Yeah. I envision there's going to be some piano in this. What I'm predicting is something not a million miles away from Skyfall, with some soaring strings in it, and piano and down tempo. That's what I'm predicting.
So, do you think it could relate to? Obviously, the Writings on the Wall. There is that thing in the trailer, and people know about that. So obviously, that's got to have some sort of link to it. Do you think, in terms of it being a love song, it could be Bond's love for his parents? Could it be Bond going back to maybe a previous relationship, or is it just something completely different? Or maybe
I would imagine the classic Bond thing would be Bond and whatever Bond girl he's knobbing that particular week. So I should imagine that's what it's about. I would imagine it's about the relationship between him and Léa Seydoux.
And Lissadon. Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, sounds good.
But that's not far off either. 25th of September that comes out, so that's literally next week. We'll have the brand new Bond song to listen to. Surprised it hasn't, like, we haven't even heard a peep of it yet. Like, no. On the day of release, I would have thought A, it would have leaked by now, which it hasn't, and I would have thought B, we'd have at least heard like 30 seconds of it or a minute on some radio publicity kind of thing, which is weird.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to listen to this before the film, so I'm looking forward to it, and then just chatting about it, really. In fact, there was another bit of news regarding the song. So British electric duo Disclosure, they're called. They did some post work on the song. So after Sam Smith has sort of done the recording, they added a couple of little bits. So they basically said the Writings on the Wall track is classic sounding Bond theme, a lot very similar to Goldfinger. So along those sort of lines, which was interesting, definitely. And they were asked to get involved to basically add a bit more synth to the song to make it sound a bit more spacey. Okay. So you've got the underlying sort of Sam Smith power ballad type stuff. Goldfingers is what they're sort of comparing it to, but they've also got a bit of, when you think synth and spacey, you do think maybe a bit of Majesties or a bit, something along that. So I'm not sure exactly, but it'll be an interesting thing to see. It
certainly will. So Goldfinger-esque. So that makes you think big brassy kind of thing. Yeah. So maybe it'll be, when you say orchestral, less strings and more big and brassy, I guess. But interesting. I'm intrigued, man. I'm really intrigued. I must admit, I do have a little habit with Bond songs. Especially the recent ones, where I tend to not like them when I first hear them, and then they grow on me massively, and then I end up loving them later. I remember Chris Cornell's tune. I remember listening to that and going, "What the fuck is that?" Thinking they'd ruined the whole thing. But that is absolutely one of my favourite Bond tunes of all time. I adore that tune. So I think what we all have to do as Bond fans, we all have to join hands and just be like, let's have a listen, and then let's just calm down and let it settle. Because obviously sometimes when new things come out, it's a little bit jarring, isn't it? And then sort of make our decision a little bit later. Because like we said previously, there's been a lot of sort of negativity about Sam Smith being chosen to do the song. When it was all announced, a lot of the social medias were saying, oh no, this is going to be rubbish, and not that many people were pleased. It was more negative than it was positive. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Do you know what is super important though, no matter what, with a Bond song?
Yeah, go on.
Is the opening few bars.
Yeah.
That opening 5 seconds, you think even less, 2 or 3 seconds of the Bond songs, and there are some that just they're on it straight away, aren't they? Goldfinger, it doesn't take much, but it's there, isn't it? It is there. Nobody does it better. It's there. You need that start of the song is so important. Yeah. You need a brilliant start, and hopefully that they'll have it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. That opening moment is so important. Like if you think of that, good God, that scene in Goldfinger, he puts his shoulder holster back on his jacket and he's like shocking, positively shocking. As soon as that door closes and you get bam, bam, it's like, holy shit, this is just some next level stuff, I would say even like Live and Let Die, as soon as you hear that, even though it's just a simple chord, you're like, and you're in. Do you know what I mean? And there's so many of them that are like that. And like Majesty's, dang, 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 it's like, I just hope he's got something like that. I hope it's not like a limp, just like and then it starts. I want like a
But even stuff like You Only Live Twice, that's not a powerful thing, but it's still so good, and it's still so it doesn't have to be a boombastic type thing. Although I do love boombastic, but it just has to be classy and hit the right notes.
I think it's one of those that you can't really put into words what it is. Like for example, if you take Diamonds Are Forever, it's just little twinklies, ding 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 ding. That's not big, that's not brassy, that's not impactful, but there's just something in that that's just like and I just hope it's got that. Even like Skyfall, I think that's a great song. I really like it. That was one actually I liked straight away. I really liked that immediately. That one that wasn't a grower. That was like I loved it straight away. I've got it. I tell you what. What I'm kind of hoping for. They've said it's a bit like Goldfinger, so it won't be like this, I wouldn't imagine. But one of my all-time favourite songs. We need to do a full episode on all the songs at some point.
Yeah. Oh, we will.
That bit in GoldenEye, man. The plane's flying away, the facility's blowing up, and you get bling, 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 bling. Ding, ding, that ding. One, oh my goodness me. That one, it gets right in the cockles every time I hear it, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
ding, 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 ding. It's so little though, isn't it? Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. That's all it is. But it just makes you shiver and just get all. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to after we finish recording. I'm gonna have to get my headphones out and have a good old listen to some of these theme tunes.
Here's an interesting thing. I don't know if it's been done before.
Go on.
Why don't we edit all the Bond songs, like the first 4 seconds or 3 seconds, however long it takes for that first few notes of the Bond songs, and just listen to them back to back. So you get like 3 seconds of this one, 4 seconds, 2 seconds of that one, and just to listen to see the impact that they have. I think that'd be a really interesting.
I wonder whether we would notice any sort of like little formulas that creep out. Do you know what I mean? Like that thing we talked about before.
Oh, for sure.
The last 3 Bond songs all using the same chords, things like that, whether things will creep out of like, oh, that's like a signature Bond opening thing. But let's get involved with some of that, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I've got all excited, Chris. I've come over all peculiar. It's good. It's nice. So obviously we're doing a MI6 Mailbag episode today where we answer some of our esteemed JBR listener questions. But before we crack on with that, make sure you come and like our Facebook page. Just put James Bond Radio into the search. Not only will you join the wonderful community of Facebookians over there, you will also see the amazing Photoshop work that Brett Spencer did for us. So that'll be nice as well. Come and follow us on Twitter, which is @JamesBondRadio. You can come to the jamesbondradio.com website and join in the discussions in the comments section. There's lots of good stuff to be had there. You can also leave us a voicemail as well through the website. You can do that through your computer. You don't need a phone or anything. You can leave us a question for a future mailbag episode or a listener quote, whatever. If you leave a listener quote, make sure you leave the answer as well. So you want to leave 2 messages, one with the question, one with the answer. That's always handy. And last but not least, if you would go to our iTunes page, if you just go to jamesbondradio.com/iTunes, that takes you to our iTunes page, and if you could leave us a lovely glowing 5-star review, that would be lovely, because it helps us grow on iTunes and attract more listeners and all that kind of stuff, Chris, doesn't it?
It does indeed, and we love it.
We
Thank
do.
you very much.
We do indeed. So let's roll them theme tune, and we'll get cracking.
Let's do it.
My name's Bond. James Bond. Bond. James. Bond, what do you think you're doing? Keeping the British hand up, sir.
Welcome to James Bond Radio. News, reviews, and discussion of all things 007.
Pussy. As you can see, I have no problem with female authority.
Oh, pipe down, 007.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Okay, so before we crack on with everybody's questions, it's time for a little bit of Bond trivia, isn't it, Chris? I'm going to go first. Now, what I've done is I've kind of melded 2 of our little games that we play into one today. So this is a bit like Complete the Lyric section, but it's also a trivia question as well.
So you're going to screw me over?
Yeah, no, that's what I was hoping for, yeah. Sometimes I'm just doing random things. I'm just doing the dishes and a question will just leap into my head out of nowhere, and I'm like, I'm writing that down. I'm going to use that. So my question of the day, Chris, is
yes.
What does the Moonraker know?
Oh, okay.
So obviously you're going to need to be familiar with the song. That is, what does the Moonraker know? That's my question of the day.
Yeah. Good one. I'm going to have to play it in my head at some point. Not right now. Great. Well, my trivia question for today, I've borrowed it off one of our JBR listeners. And it was a very good one, in fact. So my trivia question for today, Mr. Thomas, is in which gun barrel sequences do we see James Bond dressed in a suit and tie? And which gun barrel sequences do we see him dressed in a tuxedo or dinner jacket?
Oh, goodness me. That is a very good question. That's a very good one. That's making me think already. And I can see some dicky bows. I think I'm confident with the dicky bows. Yeah, all right, good stuff. Which listener was that from? Who did you steal that from?
I really apologise, and I will find out. But off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but I can't
Very
remember.
nice. Bit of plagiarism to go with it today. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Excellent stuff. So we will reveal the answers to those questions at some point during today's episode. So stay tuned, otherwise you'll miss out on that. And we won't want that, will we? Right. We just need to stop the presses here for a minute, Chris, because we got we talk about this fella a lot. Old Agent Golden voice, Simon Willie. He crops up quite often. He's what I would call an active JBR listener. He's always posting on the Facebook and emailing in and all that kind of stuff, which is great. We love a bit of that. This time, Golden Voice, not only is he a ticket winner for his outstanding video, which did feature nudity, he's only gone and basically recorded us a new JBR theme tune. It's amazing. Now, what we have to do is we have to preface this. Anybody outside of England probably won't know what this is, right? So I'll do a little bit of explanation beforehand. Yeah. Basically, what you need to do is you need to Google Chaz and Dave. Right, they're basically national treasures in England. They're like a Cockney duo that sing like funny Cockney tunes. If you're from America or Canada or wherever, you will never have heard of them. But they used to hang out with the Beatles, so there you go. And basically, this is Simon Willie's take on a Chaz and Dave song tailored to James Bond radio. So, shall we have a listen, Chris?
I can't wait. Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Spectre, Loopy, Nuts, are we, Tom and Chris and you and me. We'll show you some James Bond age with a little podcast and a Facebook page. Watch the films then playback, interview stars and talk crap. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, we're all Spectre Loopy. Now old Tom Sears, as we all know, has a transatlantic wheeze. Isle of white bread, he lives instead in old Los Angeles. Loves his Bond, likes a song, and he really does have a good voice. He likes to use some splendid words like rad and coolio. Nice. Now our friend Chris, he still lives in wet and windy Wales. In his underground lair he combs his hair and fiddles with his nails. 'Cause he knows that he must be well dressed all the sooner. 'Cause when JBR goes off the air, his other job's as a crooner. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, Tom and Chris and you and me. We'll show you some James Bond age with a little podcast and a Facebook page. Guess the lyric and quiz things. Everyone dies when Chris sings. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, we're all Spectre Loopy. Now Matthew Grice is rather nice for a bloke from Nottingham. And as he lays his bricks all day, he likes to sing a song. And given a chance, he'll add a little dance while wearing safety kit. Bright yellow headphones, day glow plants, he doesn't give a... Now Antoinette is a rare Bondette from the land of the maple leaf. She tunes in fast to each podcast 'cause she loves her British beef. She once said to Tom and Chris, I love you English dudes, when she appeared, not being weird, on the podcast on YouTube. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, Tom and Chris and you and me. We'll show you some James Bond age with a little podcast and a Facebook page. Bond deathmatch and this too, yes, the music cue. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, we're all Spectre Loopy. There are more that I could name, like Enno, Jack, David, Steve. There's Sheila, James with the Lazenby Games, and Linda's Station C. Warren, AJ, Darren, Moore, listening wild and free. They love their weekly dose of Bond, the JBR family. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, Tom and Chris and you and me. We'll show you some James Bond age with a little podcast and a Facebook page. Watch the films then, playback, interview stars and talk crap. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, we're all Spectre Loopy. Spectre Loopy nuts are we, we're all Spectre Loopy. Lovely stuff, Governor. Looking forward to October 26th. Big premiere. Do you know what? It'll be rad.
Now, when that popped up in the old inbox, and I just wasn't, I thought this was going to be another voicemail message or something like that.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I heard that, I spat my tea all over my computer and just like, what a work of genius that is. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. What a dude. I mean, bow down. That was a great song. In fact, Sam Smith, what's that about? Let's stick Spectre Loopy on instead.
Yeah. Can you imagine? That kicks in after the pre-title sequence? There's Wooly with his arse hanging out on the screen, singing Spectre Loopy. Brilliant. Love it. Good
Amazing.
stuff.
Oh, that was great work, though.
Yeah,
superb.
Great work, Simon. We salute you. Good stuff. Excellent. So let's crack on with the questions then. So, well, some of these are questions, and we just got some messages that we thought we'd read out as well. So our first one of the day is from, is it Seth Kelly? It's spelled with a C. It could be Keth Kelly. I'm not sure. Sorry about that. Don't know. But he says, greetings from the US. I love the podcast. I'm actually a bigger fan of the novels than the movies, so I've really enjoyed your book reviews. Just want to let you know to keep up the good work, and I look forward to more book reviews in the future. Well, thank you very much for that. That's very nice. Problem with book reviews is they're really time consuming, isn't it? Because it's not like you can sit down and watch a movie in 2 hours and then review it. It's like with a book, it takes ages to read it, and then it takes so much time to actually put them together. But we will definitely do more in the future, that's for sure.
Yeah, we will do, yeah. I think also going down to a podcast every week is makes it a bit tricky for the book review. But we'll get around to it without a doubt, and we'll get on that. And we've both got a big back catalogue to get through.
Definitely,
for sure. But thanks for the message.
Yeah.
So we've also had a message from Tim, who talks about the Aston Martin. Now, it's not the Aston Martin DB5, Tom. I tell you.
Is it not?
No, it is an Aston Martin DB4 Mark V.
Is that so?
Now, Tim says, "Hi, Tom and Chris. I thought I'd tell you a little known fact about the James Bond Aston Martin. All the world knows it's a DB5, only it isn't. It's a DB4 Series 5 or Mark V. This I have only ever heard referred to a couple of times. One of which was from the Aston Martin archivist and photographer Roger Stowers, and he showed me around the factory twice in the late 1990s. You may already know this, but if not, I thought it might be of some interest. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Tim." So there we go. Did you know about that?
Do you know what? It's the first I've heard of it. I never knew that. A DB4 Mark V. Interesting.
Yeah.
So all of our motorist sort of enthusiast listeners will be they probably already knew that, but that's a little nugget you can get your teeth into at the next pub quiz you go to. That would have made a good quiz question, actually, wouldn't it?
It would have done.
Yeah.
So does that mean the DB10 is DB9 Mark 8 or no?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Goodness me. I wonder how high they're going to go with the numbers. You never know.
Well, I suppose you could get up to 99. DB100 sounds a bit, I don't know. You could just keep going, couldn't you?
Absolutely. Porsche have got the 911, haven't they? So they're not bothered.
They have.
Yeah, they're going all the way.
They're not bothered at all.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay,
So,
cool. Next little email we
Tuesday.
had was from Chris McCourt, and he says, "Hi guys, just wanted to email in and say I've recently discovered your podcast. Up until now, the only Bond podcast I could find was James Bonding, which is good, but not very regular. Very glad I came across the James Bond Radio podcast right in time for my holiday as well. Keep up the podcasting. Looking forward to hearing all the film, book reviews, and chat leading up to Spectre. Cheers, Chris." Well, thank you for that, Chris. That was very kind of you. Glad you're enjoying the show.
Yeah. Hope you have a nice time on holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you're going somewhere nice. So next up, we had a voicemail this time from Tom Elliott. So let's see what Tom has to say for himself.
Hello, Chris and Tom. My name's Tom Elliott, and I just wanted to send you a bit of feedback about James Bond Radio. I've been a podcaster myself for about 5 or 6 years now. I present the Strange and Deadly show, where I look at cult horror movies, Gentleman's Grindhouse Radio, where I interview horror celebs, and also the Twilight Zone podcast, where I look at that show. Now, I always wanted to do a James Bond podcast myself, but there was a few out there, and I thought, I just don't want to be rehashing what everyone's done. But what I like about what you guys have done is you've made it all very fresh to me. I don't feel like I need to make that podcast now because you've done a better job than I ever would. I really love the different avenues you go down, the interviews you get, and of course, your reviews of the Bond movies. So a little suggestion maybe, we've got movies like The November Man, where Pierce is riffing on his James Bond persona. He also did that in The Tailor of Panama. And then there's also The Rock, where it's Connery's Bond taken to his conclusion. What happened to Connery's Bond? That kind of alternate universe scenario. So maybe an episode looking at those movies. Anyway, I can see this timer ticking away. Great job on the show, guys, and I look forward to what you've got coming up next.
Satisfied customer, eh?
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you for that, Tom. I like not one shameless plug. He's got 3 all in there within the first few seconds. Good stuff. Good stuff. So make sure you go and check out Tom's podcast. That sounds all very good. That's a good point, actually. We haven't done anything that's sort of like the other films of the Bond actors and stuff, and there's much to be talked about there, isn't there?
There is. I think, first of all, obviously, we've got the Bond films to review, obviously. Casino Royale spoof is another one.
Yeah.
But there are so many films, you could do so many different ways it could go. We could do sort of spoofs of Bond, other spy films, other 60s. You could do other Bond actor Bond films. So there is a lot. I think we'll just have to see what happens, and we'll take things as it comes, sort of thing. Obviously, the Bond reviews at the moment are the main things, and then we'll just see how we go. We could always do a little vote to see what people want to listen to further down the line. But yeah, that was great. So good Good message there. Thanks for that, Tom.
Good stuff.
So the next person we've had is a message from Simon Meddings. And Simon said, "Good day, Tom and Chris. I'm a fellow podcaster, Waffle On Podcast, and just wanted to drop you a line to say how bloody marvellous your show is. I've been listening for about 3 months and downloaded every episode. Your banter is fantastic, interviews just brilliant, and every episode leaves me wanting more. And now you're planning a weekly show, well, I'm a happy chap. Seriously looking forward to Spectre 2. I will not be able to watch any more trailers. My taste buds are tingling enough. Just picked up the Blu-ray box set and happily working my way through them. I always saw On Her Majesty's was my favourite film. Alas, no more. I think From Russia with Love tops it, and Casino Royale is on the top end of my list as well. I honestly wish Timmy Dalton had the chance to do Casino Royale. Could you imagine him getting his teeth into that? I did a podcast on Bond for Waffle On years ago, so if you fancy listening to me chat about Bond, it's on our Podbean, which is waffleon.podbean.com. Guys, please keep doing what you do. James Bond Radio is an awesome podcast. Cheers, Meds."
Lovely stuff. Okay, well, there's some interesting little nuggets in there, isn't it? First of all, another little self-promotion there. So go and check out Simon's podcast. It's all good to spread the wealth between the Bondian podcasts. Lovely stuff. Timothy Dalton and Casino Royale. What do you think about that concept?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Like, I mean, I suppose back in his heyday, I think he would have done a fine job of it. Obviously, I guess his portrayal of Bond and Craig's portrayal of Bond are the closest to each other's compared to any of the other interpretations. I suppose Connery's got a bit in there as well that's quite similar, but those two are both the darker, gritty ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think for me, I think Dalton would have done a good job. I just think Craig brought so much to the role. I think he brought the vulnerable side. He's just an amazing actor. He the character of Bond in Casino Royale probably goes through more than any other character of Bond in any other Bond film, aside from maybe George, obviously with the death of Tracy. You just see Bond go through so many different sort of scenario situations. You've got love, you've got anger, you've got comedy, you've got sort of him learning, getting his stripes, so to speak. You've got the emotional side, and Craig is on song for all of those. So as much as it would be interesting to see Timmy in Casino Royale, I'd have preferred to have seen Timmy do Bond 17, Property of a Lady, as opposed to seeing Timmy doing Casino Royale. But that's
absolutely. I could see, the thing about Timmy is like, especially that photo you found with him in the white jacket with the dicky bow.
Oh, he looks so good in that.
Amazing. He's got something about his eyes. He's got that sort of wolfish eyes, isn't he? Where when he's sort of looking like he's eyeballing somebody. My microphone, professional. When he's eyeballing somebody, he's got that really sort of dark stare about him, and I can imagine him sitting at the table, like eyeballing Lashif over there, and that being like really pulling it off. For me, Casino Royale is such a perfect movie. I don't want it any different than how it is, but yeah, I think it's always different, always interesting to speculate on what the other actors might have done with that film. Do you know what I mean? I would love to see Roger in Majesties. I think that would have been amazing.
He would have been. I tell you what, he could have been all right. All right, Roger Majesties. You never know.
I feel like he wouldn't have been bothered by Tracy's death. Do you know what I mean? He'd just sort of raised an eyebrow and sort of trotted off down the road. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. And the fight scenes might have been slightly different as well.
Absolutely.
But, interesting, though, that Simon was saying that he obviously Majesty's was his favourite, and then upon watching them again, From Russia's gone top.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Majesty's, From Russia, and Casino are my top three. So he's in good.
I think that they tend to be a lot of people's top three, don't they? If not top three, they rank highly for a lot of people. Obviously, Majesty's does divide opinion more than the other ones, but like it tends to be either Majesty's, Casino, From Russia with Love, possibly even The Living Daylights are the ones that sort of rank quite highly among a lot of people. So yeah, good stuff. But I don't know. There's just something magical about Majesty's. I just think it's just the overall gelling of everything. That score is so good, and it's just something untouchable about that movie for me.
Without a doubt, I'm going to be watching it on Christmas Day.
Me too. Good stuff. Excellent. So thank you for that, Simon. Next up, we had a message from Chris Ettel, who says, "Hi guys, love the podcast, which I watch on YouTube. I've been a Bond fan since the early 90s. I was wondering, have you considered doing a review of the 1967 Casino Royale? It's a pretty awful film, but would love to hear your views on it. Like Never Say Never Again, the story around the making of it is more interesting than the actual film. Keep up the good work." Well, so yeah, it's an interesting one there, isn't it? We've talked about that before, whether we're going to do that film. I remember watching it once when I was about 13 and just being completely bewildered by what I was witnessing, and I haven't touched it since.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it is a mental mixed match of scenes. It had 5 directors.
Yeah.
You know, imagine a film with 5 directors shooting different stuff. You're never going to get something that makes sense with when that happens, are you?
No.
But it is its thing. You know, it's its own 60s crazy psychedelic madness. You know, a lot of Austin Powers was ripped from the Casino Royale spoof.
Yeah.
Loads of it. If you watch it again, you go, "Oh, that's where they took that from. That's
really?
where they took that from." Loads of it is ripped from Casino Royale.
Interesting.
And I definitely want to review it at some point. Obviously, further down the line. And I also think if you're happy to do so, I also think we should review the 1954 Casino Royale.
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know whether can you get that on DVD. I remember I've got it on VHS somewhere.
I've got it on VHS, but I'm sure I've seen it on DVD somewhere. So we'll have to fish that out. And
it'll be good to see Clarence Leiter again and Jimmy Bond. Yeah,
Jimmy Bond. Yeah,
good stuff. So yeah, good question, Chris. We'll I'm sure we'll get around to taking a look at that. For me, it's like we've said, going through these Bond films again, it's kind of like trying to watch them all, almost pretending you've never seen them before and trying to watch them with fresh eyes and all that kind of stuff. So that one, I mean, I've literally seen it once years ago, can barely remember anything about it. So that'll be a good voyage of discovery for me. Absolutely, that'll be a good one. Now, this next question, we should probably do a Spectre spoiler alert, because there is some speculation going on here. Do I need to hide or remove my... Possibly. I do you know what? Let's put a time reference in. So if you're listening and you want to skip the speculation, that was difficult to say. Skip forward to
51 minutes and 16 seconds.
Okay. So you're in the naughty door again. We haven't had a naughty door for a while, have we?
Not for a while, no. I like it.
So
I like being in the naughty door.
Yeah, me too, don't we all?
I wasn't sure if I was going to be in the naughty door this time, but I am. I've allowed myself in.
So this one, we pinched off the JamesBondRadio.com website, which is a comment from Brian4969. And he says, "Evening, folks. I just wanted to share my idea for Bond 24/25. Given what we've seen so far, here's what I'd like to happen. Bond 24... 007 exercises his demons chasing down his stepbrother, who is also Spectre's number 2. Cut to the closing scene of the movie and cue Blofeld, or at least his hand, complete with Spectre ring. No face, no voice, just the confirmation that he's back. Bond 25, 007 takes on the mastermind that is Blofeld, an arch enemy in the classic sense, not a young man, but an older man who does not engage in physical confrontation with Bond, but remains a step ahead almost the entire picture given his experience and intelligence. Plot twist being Blofeld is Bond's stepfather, played by Sir Sean Connery. I know he's retired, but hey, I can dream. And it would maybe explain why he didn't appear in Skyfall in a cameo role obviously written for him. Far-fetched? Yes. Unlikely? Yes. But in my opinion, one hell of a way to round off 25 Bond movies. Daniel Craig's tenure in the role and the retiring from acting befitting, and a retiral from, is that a word? I don't know. Befitting Sir Sean. Your thoughts, please. Well, Chris, lay it on us. What do you think?
Okay, well, the early part of what Brian mentioned is quite similar to what we've said before in terms of what we want. We definitely want a good story with Bond, you know, the backstory with Oberhaus and all that coming to fruition. But just to get that little hint of Blofeld, we don't, you know, if it happens that this is Blofeld, it's a big thing. This is why I'm becoming more and more inclined to think that Waltz is definitely not Blofeld.
Oh, okay.
No, just because I think he is going to be like the number 2 or whatever it might be, or I really think the Blofeld is going to just be a hint of what's to come.
Okay.
I think that's what it might be, and that's what I want to happen anyway. I don't know if that's just me wanting.
See,
that,
my thoughts on that is I think Christoph Waltz is such a perfect actor to play Blofeld. I think anybody else, unless there's some amazing thing that they've got up their sleeves where somebody does show up at the end, I feel like any clever reveal might out-clever themselves and just be a bit of a letdown.
Would Sean Connery be a letdown?
I don't know whether I'd want to see that, to be honest with you. The thing is, the more I think about Connery as Kincaid in Skyfall, the more I wish that had have come off. In fact, there was that. Did you see that thing this week that was on denofgeek.com where? It turns out basically what the article says. There was a secret source who said that Connery was involved in Skyfall up to the point where he was rehearsing his role in Kincaid, and then something happened, and basically he stepped out at the last minute, and they had to replace him.
That would have been so good.
So I immediately got on the secure line to Terry Bamber. I got on there. He's got a red phone on his desk, just like M. Immediately got on the secure line. Terry, what's going on? Is this any truth to that? And he basically poo-pooed it, said it was an absolute load of bollocks. Yeah. So that as far as according to Terry, is not true. Sam Mendes did say he flirted with the idea for a moment, but thought the concept of having Connery would take you out of the movie. Yeah. Like we've talked about before, I feel like that part had to have been written for Sean. Welcome to Scotland. Do you know what I mean? Come on, that had to have been written for Sean, and all that kind of stuff. That's where I'd have liked to have seen Sean. Sean as Blofeld. I don't think that would work for me. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. But now what you've said, I mean, I can't think of anyone better than Christoph Waltz to be Blofeld, because also, no matter what happens, this is 100% guaranteed. I've not read the script, but what I'm saying here is, if Blofeld does appear in this film, he's definitely not going to be dead by the end of this film. He can't, can he?
Absolutely not.
They're not going to just have him for this film. We know he's going to be recurring. Christoph Waltz would be, he would be brilliant. Yeah. Obviously, he would. And I don't know, if there is someone else out there that's going to be it, then who knows? But, I don't know. We'll find out soon, won't we?
So excited.
It's only, what is it, 6 weeks away?
5, I think now, isn't it? 5 weeks? Yeah, good Lord. Oh, all right, cool stuff. Excellent. So, what else have we got?
So, next question we had, message, is from Stephen Wadsworth, which he says, "Hi Tom and Chris and fellow JBR listeners. Of all the lost Bond footage from the film series, I think the stuff I'd like to see is Pierce's screen test from 1986. Really, really good point, this. A couple of questions on that. Number one, does anyone have any idea why Eon, as far as I know, has never released the footage? Number two, had Pierce got the gig in 86, what do you think his Bond movies would have been like in terms of the tone of the character and the films themselves? If you look at where Pierce came from on Remington Steele, I can't help thinking that the light tone of Roger's movies would have continued, and the two movies in the late 80s would not have had anything like the darker tone that came with Tim's interpretation of the role. I really love Roger, but I think A View to a Kill, while actually having quite a lot going for it as a film, was just one too many movies for Roger as an action hero, but was also one too many of the camp over-the-top style of Bond movies. Another couple more like that, and there really would have been no need for Austin Powers. And to link back to the question, Mike Myers asked Pierce to be in The Spy Who Shagged Me, but Pierce was unavailable to appear. So, what do you think about that then?
Interesting. Well,
Pierce is...
We haven't seen the screen test of any of the Bonds, have we? We've only seen on the DVD extras where you had a few like Sam Neill. We've seen his and a few others, James Brolin and those guys. Are any of the screen test footage available?
I'm sure some of them are somewhere. Yeah, that's a good point actually.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to see Daniel's screen test. That would be incredible to see. Yeah. But yeah,
George
and George definitely. Now I've got. Right, I'm just going to put something out there. I've got some controversial thoughts about this, Chris. I really do. Now, at the risk of
I like it.
3/4 of our listenership turning off immediately in disgust and never listening to us again, I'm going to be careful. Right.
Okay.
So the question was, what do you think Pierce's movies would have been like had he got the gig in 86 and had have gone on to be in Living Daylights? I don't think The Living Daylights is Tim's film, right? Here's what my thoughts are. I think, obviously bearing in mind it was a last minute thing with Pierce not getting the job. He'd already done the promotional shots and all that kind of business. Then Timmy steps in. So Timmy was the backup man. Now, no disrespect to him at all. I love Timmy, right? The Living Daylights to me is Pierce's film. It should have been Pierce's film, and I would love to see that. I would love to see George in Diamonds, first of all. That would be my number one choice. But I would also, my second one would be Pierce in Living Daylights. I can see him in those black overalls, parachuting down to Gibraltar. I can see him doing all of that. And I feel like had he got that film and that had have all worked out, I think he'd be way more respected than he currently is. I think Daylights is a much lighter film than License to Kill was. And I think that is Pierce's movie. Now, with that said, right, not to discredit Tim in any way, because I love The Living Daylights, I love what he did with it. License to Kill is a much darker film. That, without a doubt, is Timmy's film. Like, Pierce wouldn't be able to do License to Kill. Like, it just wouldn't work, right? License to Kill, Timmy's film all the way around. So what I would have liked to have seen happen is, like, if you could have the two alternate universes, I would have liked to have seen Pierce start off in The Living Daylights, and then maybe his second film would have been GoldenEye, and then it would have kind of sort of followed along, maybe in that sort of way. What I'd like to have seen with Tim is like more along the lines of the License to Kill kind of vibe, that real dark, real, maybe even him doing Casino Royale as well in that alternate universe. Do you know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting point about Living Daylights potentially being Pierce's film and not Tim's. I think because it was such a close turnaround, wasn't it? In between Pierce sort of going off and Tim coming on. I think I love both of them. I think I love The Living Daylights. It is one of my favourites. I think Tim was brilliant in it. But equally, I could envisage Pierce doing a lot of that stuff as well. Yeah. Like you said, the opening sequence, I think he would have been great in. It's interesting. But like you said, Pierce doing License to Kill, no, that definitely wouldn't have worked. Yeah. The trouble is, I just want them all to have done more. I want Timmy to have done 2 or 3 more. Pierce, if he'd done 1 or 2 instead of the last one, maybe.
This is where it comes up with Pierce. Is everybody disses Pierce at the moment? I feel like what it is. It's like
more his films, though. It's more his films.
More the films, definitely. The common thing you hear is, it was a shame with the bad films that he was served up. That's what the common consensus seems to be. Yeah. But I think at the moment we're just not far enough along in the sense that, when we looked at Moonraker, there's Roger doing some of the most outrageous shit, riding through some is it St. Mark's Square or St. Thomas? St. Mark's Square. In the Bondelaire and stuff and flying around in outer space. Outrageous for Bond, but like we said, you watch it and it's Roger and you love it regardless, or at least I do. Yeah. And I feel like there just hasn't been enough time passed for Pierce. And the thing was, I think Pierce got so ridiculous with Die Another Day, again, totally not his fault, and Casino was such a stark contrast to that. And Casino was so good and was literally out of the blue, was like one of the best, maybe even the best Bond film ever for most people, for a lot of people, just came out of the blue, totally unexpected. And of course, the natural reaction is to be like, when something that good comes out, to like diss the dude that came before, whose last film had invisible cars in it. Do you know what I mean? And I think once we've got down the line a bit more, maybe 10 years in the future, maybe 20 years, we'll look back at it in the same affection that we look back at Moonraker, that it was like, oh, that was Pierce, wasn't Pierce rad? But just at the moment, because we've transitioned from one to the next, that's why he's in a negative light at the moment. What I imagine it would have been the same thing with Roger when Timmy took over. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant observation. I think that's great. I've got 2 questions for you.
Go on, lay it on me.
Do you think Pierce would have been too young to have done Living Daylights in '86, or do you think he would have been all right?
I think, having seen pictures of him from that period, I would say he was bang on for that. I think, do you know what? The more I think about that pre-title sequence and the rooftop chase and the cello, I can see Pierce doing all of that. And it's funny, isn't it? It's like we say, you put Roger in Majesties, and it just those you see scenes in that, you're like, I just can't see Roger doing that. I just can't see that working. And it's the same, like I said, with Pierce in License to Kill. You can't see him being that dark, and with Living Daylights, I can see Pierce doing each and every single one of those scenes and doing it well. But like I said, I haven't read Charles Helfenstein's book yet, so I don't know how quickly that turnaround was and how much change to the script, if any, they did when Timmy got the job. Like how much of it was tailored to the actor or not, or whether they just had the Pierce script and went with it. I don't know about that yet. So that's going to be something great to explore when we get to Timmy's movies. Yeah.
I've got the book, so I'll have to. I've got a backlog which I have to get through, but I'll definitely get cracking on that.
Yeah.
So my second question is basically not even a question; it's more of a statement.
Okay.
So following on from what you've mentioned there, which I think definitely has some merit behind it, you know, about the whole looking back on Rog, but it's Rog, you know, you enjoy it because it's Rog. 5-10 years time, we look back, it's Pierce, but you love it because that was Pierce's time and he did his thing.
Yeah.
Does that mean in 5 or 10 years time you are actually going to enjoy watching Die Another Day?
Who knows? I haven't watched it in 13 years, so maybe I will enjoy it this time round. Who knows?
Yeah, I think you're going to love it, man.
Because did you know what though? That is a good question, because when you think about it, you look at all the dodgy special effects from years gone by, like, you know. Yeah. For example, you look at Thunderball and you've got the dodgy back projection when Angelo comes and opens the door and all that kind of stuff. And it's obviously the quality of the effects are nowhere near as good as they are today. But you're like, well, that was the time in which it was made, and you accept it and you just go with it. So maybe 15 years down the line, we'll have come out the other end of this CGI kind of phase that we've gone through and be like, oh man, remember when all the films looked like that and how ridiculous it was? And maybe the time will be kind to it and we'll just take it as a product of its time. You just don't know.
You'll be watching Die Another Day like for nostalgic reasons and going, look at that invisible car, wasn't that good?
Yeah, in JBR episode 500, Die Another Day revisited again for the third time. But there we go. Cool stuff.
Good. Cool.
Excellent. That was a bloody good question, Stephen Wadsworth. We were chewing over that one for a while. Good stuff. Yeah. Excellent work. Thanks for getting in touch. Now, next up, we have a double barrel question. We have two questions from longtime JBR listener Jack Lugo. So let's have a listen to what old Jack has to say for himself.
Hi, this is Jack Lugo. I just thought I'd send in a message. I'm sure other people have asked this, but I thought I'd send this in anyway. Came across an interview with Pierce Brosnan that he did while he was promoting November Man, and of course they asked him about this, the possible fifth Bond film that he could have done with Quentin Tarantino directing him in Casino Royale, and of course the one time that Brosnan met Tarantino got him drunk, and I think they drank like 6 martinis each, and no one can remember really what happened. And I guess I don't know if Tarantino has said in interviews what he would have done with Bond, but I just thought I'd pose it as a question to Tom and Chris, what that Quentin Tarantino film would have been like, because I think it would have been almost like Hitchcock directing a Bond, because Tarantino is such an auteur, and has a really specific style that I don't know if it would have been considered a Bond film, or it would have been considered a Tarantino film. It would have. It would have been fantastic, but I don't know how it would have came across in the end. How the legacy of it would, what it would have been. Anyway, I just thought it would be a nice thing to discuss.
Okay, so Tarantino's take on Casino Royale. What do you think about that then, Chris?
I think we've not talked about this for a while, but I do remember us having a chat about it quite a few podcasts ago now, and I'm still in the same frame of mind, which is that I would love to see Tarantino's version of what he thinks Bond should be, but not have it as James Bond. If he wants to do his next film as some sort of secret agent doing whatever it's doing, but isn't James Bond, just to show the world what he had in mind, I would love to see that. I'd go to watch that 100%, and I definitely want to see it, but I just wouldn't want that to be in the James Bond world.
So what you're saying,
I think I'm too protective of it.
Like with Matthew Vaughn and Kingsman, like that kind of thing, where he does his own kind of take on the spy sort of franchise. Interesting. Yeah, I think what we need is basically a lot of alternate universes, don't we? Like I'd be up for making a Bond film just out of sheer curiosity, because it would be so, like, it could go one of two ways, because he's such an out there dude, and he's got such kind of crazy ideas that I think deep down, I think what he would deliver would be something that most of us would be like, that wasn't a Bond film, that was something completely different. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what it would come out with. It would be more of a Tarantino film than a Bond film, I think.
Yeah.
And as well, like, for example, what was that one he did with the slave guy, his last film, Django Unchained? Like, for that one, for me, he sort of messed with the usual formula of how a story flows, isn't it? And for me, there was like an extra half an hour tacked on at the end. And for me, that didn't feel right. I was just like, by the end of it, I was just like, this should be over by now. Like, this is, you know what I mean? And I feel like there is sometimes as good as messing with formula can be to like change things up. Sometimes just doing it for the sake of it just is like, oh, what are you doing? And
there is the other thing as well.
Go on.
That if he did do a Bond, it'd probably him versus Madonna as the most annoying cameo ever to appear in a Bond
That's true.
film.
Yeah, he'd squeeze himself in there somewhere, wouldn't he? And maybe he'd even recast Pierce and have John Travolta playing Bond or something. You never know. But or Samuel L. Jackson, that would stir things up a bit, wouldn't it? So
love to have read the script though.
Yeah.
Love to have read the script if there was one that ever existed, or at least an outline of, because he obviously had something in mind.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think it would be. I would love to see it. But I think it would end up as just like a weird oddity in the series rather than like a, wow, that always should have happened, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people, popular opinion is like Christopher Nolan should do a Bond, and especially when you watch Inception and all those snow scenes and the Majesty's homage and all that, you can see why that makes sense. But like Tarantino, I don't know. I can't imagine a Tarantino without severe blood and guts and like gratuitous swearing and stuff in. I just think it would be too weird. I don't know, but interesting. Good question, Jack. Thank you for that. And this is Jack Lugo question number 2.
Hi guys, this is Jack Lugo. I just had a question you guys might want to consider for the next episode. It has to do with Casino Royale and Daniel Craig's introduction, and it's great. I love it. I love that scene where he confronts the corrupt MI6 chief and he kills him in cold blood, and it's a memorable scene, and I love it. I wouldn't change it, but there's always a nagging thought, and that's when he tells Craig's Bond that your file shows no kills and it takes 2, and the exchange that happens after is great. But a 00 agent not having kills before becoming a 00 seems a little improbable or unlikely to me. I mean, unless it's meant that being a cold-blooded kill, but obviously he was an agent before becoming a 00. And he must have had kills before. So I guess I just wanted to see if you guys wanted to sort of debate whether or not, Craig's Bond had kills before Casino Royale, or if, it's meant to be, just cold-blooded kills, based on orders from him. Anyway, just a thought. Thanks.
So, what do you think about that?
Well, damn good question, for starters. I think, in my mind, I'd imagine that the 2 kills to give him his 00 was starting from a certain point. And prior to that point, he may have already killed someone in the field.
It is funny, isn't it? Because it's, when you look at that logically, I suppose, you're an agent in the field for a long time before you get promoted to the 00 section. It does... that does sort of make you think that, of course, as an agent in the field, you would have kills, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, Silver was an agent in the field. He wasn't a 00, and I'm sure he killed people in his journey. So, I don't know. There's something really impactful, isn't there, about the concept of, like, if it's your job to kill someone. I imagine soldiers get this, real life soldiers, like that first time you pull the trigger on somebody and you've taken another human's life, what a huge impact that must have on you psychologically. So I guess, like, in the books, I remember, do you know what, shamefully, I remember one of his kills was like a sniper shot, one of his first kills. I can't remember what the other one was now off the top of my head, but But yeah, so I feel like that's the hook of the story. That's the emotional impact of like the first time, and the way when he drowns the dude in the sink and he's just having a breather and looking down at his body. It's like, I feel like that's meant to be the first time he's ever done it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I suppose that is a little sort of plot hole in a sense. What do you think?
Well, the alternative that you could look at that is it's his first 2 kills that he's been almost contracted to do.
Yeah.
So MI6 knew that Dryden was dodgy and they needed him killed. The guy in the bathroom, obviously, like, he could have been on their cards as well. So he might easily have killed someone before, but these are the time. Okay, you're now. This is to get you a 00. You're contracted to kill Dryden and take him out. And maybe that's what it was. So it's not just killing any old person. Yeah. It's under the specific orders of the government to kill specific people. And maybe that's how the 00 sort of status was.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, because when Dryden's like, made you feel it, did he? And all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I feel like when I watch that, I feel like that's meant to be the very first time he kills anybody. Yeah. So maybe he was just a bit of a desk jockey before he went to the 00 section. Yeah. And that was it. But yeah, that's an interesting point. I do feel like perhaps that is a little bit of a sort of a plot hole there. But
when I watch it, I'm the same as you. When I watch it, for me, those are his first kills, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like when he's looking down on the bathroom floor and stuff, and like you said, Dryden's line. So yeah, it is a bit of a strange one. It's good, good question by Jack.
Good question by Jack. Yeah,
Lugo.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in fact, let's put that one out to the JBO audience. If what does everyone out there think? Do you think that Casino Royale were his very first 2 kills, or do you think they were perhaps his first 2 contracted kills? Do you think he definitely killed someone before or not? Let's put it out there and see what people think.
Absolutely, good stuff.
Cool. Good one.
So next up, we have a question from Jimmy Jensen. So let's have a listen to that one.
Name.
Hi guys, this is Jimmy Jensen from Liverpool. Okay, my question is this. Somehow, your dreams have come true and you're now the overlord of James Bond movies. But you can't have James Bonds with their own films. So, for instance, Sean can't do the Sean movies. What Bonds would you put with what set of movies? Who'd be best suited for them and such? Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the question and keep up the great work. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
So that's a timely question, isn't it? Because we were just talking along those lines, weren't we? So what do you think about that? That's quite an interesting one to kind of.
Well, the ones should we do them in order or?
Well, I feel like if we were to do every film, we would be here all day, wouldn't we? So I think
no. As in, take Sean. What film would you like to see Sean in out of all the others that he didn't do?
Good point.
Take George and then do it that way. So Sean, what film out of all the other non-Sean films would you like to have seen Sean portray?
That's tough for me, that one, because I feel like all the other films are such a product of that actor. It's hard for me to imagine Sean doing any of the other ones other than he did. I suppose the obvious choice for a lot of people would be Sean in Majesties. But, we all know how I feel about Majesties. Ooh. And there is a part of me that's definitely curious to see him in that. I guess my answer to that one, I would love to see Sean in Casino Royale.
Yeah, that was the closest one that I could think of when I was playing them about in my head as well. That's probably who I would say for Sean as well, for sure. Yeah. Like, you couldn't picture him in any Rogers.
Nah.
Can't do Majesties because of George. I might do all right in maybe License. I don't know. Can't really picture him in the Brosnan. I think it would be Casino Royale for sure.
Yeah, the thing is, I think is like Sean was such a product of that time of the 60s, and of course, by the time Diamonds Come along, everyone was looking 70s, longer hair, sideburns, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But like, when I picture Sean as Bond, I see him in Goldfinger or Dr. No or From Russia with Love. Do you know what I mean? Those movies when he was proper in his prime, and to sort of take him out of that era and stick him in a 2006 Casino Royale is really hard to imagine. But I guess what it would have to be is you would have to bend the film to the time. So it would be, a 1965's version of Casino Royale, I guess.
But not the spoof one.
Yeah, definitely not the spoof one. So is that the same answer for you, Sean and Casino?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be Casino Royale. What about George then? See, the trouble is, are we placing them in the... Because obviously you and I would love to see George doing Diamonds, but hardcore, dark, gritty revenge Diamonds. Now, if we're saying we want to see them in any other film, fine, but I don't think Jimmy's saying that. I think what he's saying is, in the type of films that they are, you know, and for me, I guess George, I mean... Interesting, because he is good with the humour, George. Yeah, he is. But you want to see him in a fist fight, so you do want to see quite an action-packed film. Yeah, but also with quite a bit.
Do you
of
know
humour.
what I'm going to say? I tell you, I've made my decision. I've made it. Okay. And do you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say Casino Royale again.
Wow. Okay.
Because. You remember how when we
he would
when we reviewed Majesties, remember how we were saying, like, when he walks into that casino or that hotel lobby, he's commanding that room, cool. Like that confidence he's giving off looks rad. And can you imagine him sitting across from Lashif playing cards and eyeballing him, and you know the strength of those fights on the beach and stuff in Majesties,
the stairwell fight he could do.
That's what I'm thinking. That's like so comparable to that. It would be George and Casino, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with you again on that.
I wonder if they're all going to end up in Casino. I don't know. Interesting.
Okay, what about Rog?
Roger.
Rog isn't Casino, is he? He can't be.
No, Roger's not in Casino.
Roger Diamonds, maybe? Roger Diamonds, Roger... Let's have a think. Roger.
So if I imagine Roger in the 60s in Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, for me that just doesn't sit right for some reason.
Maybe You Only Live Twice.
Maybe. Do you know what? I could see that.
Because You Only Live Twice is very similar to Spy and Moonraker a bit, isn't it? And it's got the... It's a bit more Chris, that way.
I think you've done it. Yeah. I can see what we were saying about seeing the Bond in that scene and whether it feels right. I can see him lying in bed with Ling at the beginning.
Yeah, I can. Oh, I definitely can.
I can see him showing up in the submarine. Permission to come aboard, sir. Permission to come aboard, sir.
Definitely.
I can see him doing that.
Yeah.
I think you've done that. Yeah.
There we are. Okay, so Rog is
You Only Live Twice. Yeah.
Cool.
We'll have to get some people to knock up some alternate universe poster artwork for these answers. That'd be cool. Yeah, good stuff.
Cool.
Good
so Timmy Boy. I think Timmy Boy's going to go the same way as Sean and George for me, I think. Or wait, let me think. Or maybe even Quantum. What would he be best at, or what would we like to see him do? Because I think he'd nail Quantum. Yeah, I think Timmy Boy would really. He's do good at the. Well.
Let's face it, Timmy is good at the darkness. Could I see him in something like Goldfinger? No. Could I see him in Majesties? No, that doesn't quite feel right for me either. Yeah. None of the.
What about For Your Eyes Only?
Do you know what? Yes, I was just going to say maybe one of the 80s Rogers, because that's a similar time to Tim's time. I feel like, maybe For Your Eyes Only, or even A View to a Kill I could see him in.
Yeah.
I think perhaps if it's not Casino Royale, I would say stick him in For Your Eyes Only. I can see him kicking the car off the cliff. Definitely can see him doing that.
Yeah.
I really can. Like, compliments of Sharky. He loves a bit of that. Yeah. Kicking Lock off the top. I could definitely see that happening. I could see him. Yeah, I could see him climbing up to the monastery, doing all the mountaineering, because you see him do that in Daylights. Could you see him in the Yellow Citroen?
I think possibly. I mean, it'd be an interesting concept, wouldn't it? I think. Yeah,
I think you've done it again.
What about him with BB Doll? That would be.
I could see that working, because that's almost like the dynamic he has with Cara a little bit for a little while.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what else I could see him doing. I could see the end scene where they're tied up, drags along the back of the boat over the coral and all that kind of stuff. I could definitely see him in that.
Yeah, he would be good at that.
Yeah.
And the pre-titles with a helicopter. Yeah. I think he'd be pretty good with that as well, getting out and then, getting control of that.
Yeah, because he did that with the plane, let's face it, in License.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's our decision made. For Your Eyes Only. Yeah, good one. You've made two really good choices there, man. Yeah, absolutely. That I wouldn't have originally thought of. But good stuff.
So Pierce, what do you think then?
Pierce for me, I'm all about Pierce in Living Daylights. I think that's how I feel like that really is his movie, and I think he would have done well with that. See, I think the thing with that is you look at License to Kill and you look at some of those sort of like Bond moments. You've got the water skiing behind the plane and stuff like that, which are almost like, you know, signature, like quirky Bond moments. But there's not a lot of that in License. And with Living Daylights, you remember they filmed like the magic carpet bit, which they didn't use in the rooftop chase. That's not a Timmy moment at all. And I'm glad they cut that. I almost feel like the cello escape isn't really a Timmy moment as well. No. I feel like that's sort of, I don't know. I feel like that was pushing Timmy to the limits of what Timmy's Bond is. Yeah.
I could really, really picture Brosnan in the Aston Martin in that chase and making the comments next to Cara and like, you know, getting on the lake.
Installed. Definitely.
Yeah. I really can see Pierce doing that actually.
Can you imagine what that must have been like to have the job as Bond and then going to watch Living Daylights and seeing some other dude doing what would have been you up there? That must have been crippling for him.
Yeah, heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Heart-wrenching.
But
I think that's it. Definitely, I think Living Daylights for Pierce.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Cool.
So one more to go.
Yeah, one more to go. So Daniel, right? What would we do with Daniel?
Goldfinger.
Do you know what? I think this answer might be different once we've seen Spectre, because I feel like Daniel's Bond films have been. Like, this is the wrong way to describe it, but...
Majesties.
Yeah, like, Daniel's Bond films have been sort of smaller in scale. Not in the sense, like, obviously he travels a lot in Casino, but, like, he hasn't had one of those Bonds where there's this huge plot to take over the world. And it's been very sort of localized. You know, Le Chiffre at cards, you know, obviously the water supply in Bolivia is a bit bigger, but still it's, you know, let's face it, who cares about the water supply in Bolivia for most people? Do you know what I mean? You know, Skyfall was just all about protecting him. There's never been one of those big grandiose plots, which I'm sure we're going to get in Spectre. So, this is a tricky one for me. Have you got any gut feelings on this one?
Well, I could definitely see him doing Majesties to a certain extent. I know we don't want to picture anyone else because of George, but obviously he could do all the fight scenes on the beach. Imagine it, like Danny Boy, like flipping people over in the sea. Obviously we've seen him with Vesper, and I think he could do that emotion with Diana Rigg, with Tracy. The skiing scenes would be interesting. So Spectre, let's see if he does ski and if he does, what he looks like and how good he'd be as to whether he could do that. But for me, I think, what about him with the women, coming up the stairs and seeing all the women? I don't know if he couldn't pull that off like George, could he?
The thing is, I feel like, you know how we always say, with the exception of Connery, they've always got one little box that they don't quite tick. And I think Daniel's box that he doesn't quite tick is the humour. And from what I've seen in the trailer as well with the one-liners, he does come across as a bit stiff when he's doing those.
And there's a lot of them in Majesties.
And
George pulls them off.
I don't think that would feel right.
What about License to Kill?
Okay. I'm having some thoughts coming through, Chris. I'm having them come through.
Right, go for it.
So, License to Kill is a definite sort of obvious contender. We know Daniel can do the dark. It's kind of like License is almost Timmy's Quantum, like you sort of mentioned before. I could definitely see him across the table, you know, in the Casino in Isthmus and all that. I could definitely see him in that film. But I tell you what, I'm also kind of leaning towards. I'm kind of leaning towards either a Dr. No or From Russia with Love.
Ooh.
Now, both of those, I mean, Dr. No is a bit more out there than From Russia, but I could see, you know, the train fight with Daniel. I can see that going down very well. And
that whole thing with Bond and bloody hell. You know what I'm talking about. Mrs. and Mrs. David Somerset is very similar to Arlington Beach and Stephanie Broadchest, isn't it? Like that sort of chemistry is there, and that's a very similar sort of setup. And imagine the fight him and Robert Shaw in the train. That'd be awesome. I think you're right. I think From Russia might actually be.
I could see him. I could see him in the grey suit. I could see him on the train. Definitely. Yeah. I could see him. I can imagine him hanging out with Kerim Bey on the little boat underneath, boating along and looking through the periscope. I could see. Yeah, I could see the boat chase. We had a bit of that in Quantum. Yeah, I think I think there's more range for Daniel. I think you could have a From Russia with Love. You could have a License to Kill. You could have a Majesties with him. But I'm leaning away from Majesties because of the flirtation with the women.
The humour.
And the humour. Yeah. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
No, after thinking about it, the two, Dr. No is an interesting show as well because it's so basic in a way, but I think he could probably do it. But I think the two leading ones for him would be From Russia and License to Kill. And I don't know which of the two. I think I'm inclined to go with From Russia slightly over License to Kill with Daniel. Yeah. I don't know because I think he could pull off either of those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I don't know. I think probably From Russia just because it's got so many sort of set pieces that would really suit.
So there we have it then. So we've got Sean in Casino Royale. We've got George in Casino Royale. We've got Roger. What do we say for Roger?
You remember? Good old Rog.
What did we say for Roger? I've forgotten.
No, you haven't. Remember the humour?
Oh, You Only Live Twice.
Yes.
You Only Live Twice for Roger.
He would be awesome.
Yeah, I can see him doing all those scenes, definitely.
Yeah.
For Timmy, we've got... I've fucking forgotten again. What did we get for Timmy?
We said... do we say For Your Eyes Only?
For Your Eyes Only for Timmy, that was it. Pierce in Daylights, Daniel in From Russia with Love.
Right, so let's do that again, but we'll reel them off. So what's Sean in?
Sean's in. Oh, don't let me do this. Sean's in Casino.
George.
He's in Casino as well.
Roger.
Roger's in For Your Eyes Only. Roger is in You Only Live Twice.
Okay, Pierce. We'll go Tim actually next.
Tim is in For Your Eyes Only.
Okay, Pierce.
Pierce is in Living Daylights.
And Danny Boy
in From Russia with Love. Yeah. I'd like to see all of those films. Yeah.
So would I. Again, another one to put out to the JBR audience. If you had to see a Bond in a different Bond film from one of the ones that they starred in, who would it be? There is our list. In fact, we'll put them up and then see what people think.
I can predict Sheila is going to have just one list of 24 movies now, all starring George. Yeah. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay.
If anyone's going to make some fan art, it's going to be Sheila with George's face plastered on everything. Yeah. Nice. I'm looking forward to that. Good stuff. So next up, good question, Jimmy, by the way. Excellent work. That was another one Jimmy. We ruminated on for a while. This next one is from Sam Fuller. So let's see what Sam has to say for himself.
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Sam Fuller here from London. I just wanted to say, well done on the podcast. It's fantastic. Love every single episode so far. I'm really looking forward to Friday when it's back. We've really missed you guys. I've just finished watching The World Is Not Enough. And the pre-title sequence has always been one of my favourites. Obviously starting in Spain, leading up to that famous boat chase on the Thames. It's definitely one of my favourites. Especially the fact that there's these little parts that do link into the overall plot. So the question is, what's your favourite pre-title sequence? And why? And would that ever maybe warrant an episode, the ranking of all of Bond's pre-title sequences? It'd be a long one, I bet. Definitely be worth a listen. So, for now, goodbye, gents. And take care. Speak to you soon.
Now, something I'm just going to come straight out of the gate. Yeah. Did you ever watch Red Dwarf?
I did. Yeah.
Does that guy not sound exactly like the computer in Red Dwarf?
What is the computer's name? I was just trying to think.
I can't remember. There's an emergency. There's an emergency going on. That guy.
Yeah. Oh, he has got the same voice completely. That's
it might
awesome.
even be him. Who knows? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
But there you go, Sam. I wonder if anyone's ever mentioned that before. Good question. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I love the pre-titles. They're probably one of my favourite bits of Bond. I think The World's Not Enough is great. I mean, the boat chase is amazing. For me, always been 3 pre-titles that stand above all others. Now, this is going to be different to quite a few. For me, my 3 favourites are Goldfinger, because I think it's the first sort of pre-titles that you've got everything. You've got action, you've got the women, you've got I think is brilliant. Octopussy is probably my favourite, I think, because I just remember being like 7-year-old in bed, pretending I'm flying the Aquastride jet after watching it. And I just think that pre-titles is amazing. And third for me, not in order, but the third one is Living Daylights. I think that's got a rad pre-titles. I love the parachute jumps. I love the sort of dodgy guy who's pretending to be the SAS and everything like that. So for me, if I had to put them in order, I think joint first would be either joint first, Octopussy and Living Daylights. I'm not sure which yet. We'd have to review them. But they're my 2 favourites. Goldfinger would be underneath that. And then like there's loads of other good ones. I know that you're probably going to say Spy, and a lot of people say Spy. And I think the jump for it is probably the best thing that you're ever going to see. But in terms of a whole pre-title sequence, those 3 stand out for me more than any of the others. So what about you?
Interesting. Yes, I'm somewhat in agreement with you. I think for me, I've definitely got some pre-title sequences that stand above all others. And for me, it's 3 of them. Goldfinger, definitely. I love that pre-title sequence. I love the sneakiness of it. I love him swimming in, him getting out, shooting the grappling gun thing over the wall, running around, putting the Semtex in, and all that stuff, taking it off, and he's got the suit on underneath. Amazing. Awesome soundtrack as well. I love that soundtrack throughout the bit where he's sort of crouching down, the guy walks around the corner and he bombs it across to the silo kind of thing that he goes into, and then the theme kicks in. Love it. I think that is a masterpiece of a pre-title sequence. The way it ends is amazing as well, straight into that. That is a perfect example of what the Bond pre-title sequence should be, and I love every second of it. My next favourite is The Living Daylights.
Oh, okay. Yeah, brilliant.
I love the fact that we see, however briefly, we see some other 00s who I managed to meet last year at the Living Daylights thing. Loved it. I love that sequence. What I love about this is the fact that you don't see Bond's face for a long time. And I love the fact when they do that and introduce a new character. You had it with Connery and Dr. No. When they introduce a new Bond, they did it with Pierce in GoldenEye. You don't see his face for a while, and then there's like the reveal. And that's my one complaint about Casino Royale, is I wish they'd have done that. And they'd have cut the fight in such a way that you never see Daniel's face, and then, or just parts of it that you don't quite see. Lots of over-the-shoulder stuff. And you wouldn't even see his face in Dryden's office. You just hear the voice, and then the gun goes, Dryden falls over, and he just stands up. Yes, considerably. And that would have been our first look at Daniel's Bond. That, for me, would have been brilliant.
Should have gone that way.
Yeah, and I love that shot of the dude falls down, screams, and then you get Bond looking over his shoulder. That's the first time you see Timmy. I love the bit where he's running along, jumps on top of the Jeep, and the fight on top of the Jeep is amazing. And I tell you what, man, that bit where the Jeep goes over the edge, he falls out the back, puts his parachute in, the Jeep blows up, lands on top of the thing. There's Playboys and tennis bros, Margot, and then down he comes. What a man! Just takes the phone off her. She'll call you back. Oh man, what an introduction to a new Bond actor! I think that pre-title sequence is an absolute fucking masterpiece. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I love it. I think it's definitely probably my favourite, or at least joint favourite with Octopussy. I think it's perfect. The interesting thing is, was it Sam who asked the question?
It was
Sam. Yeah. He was mentioning The World's Not Enough and how he likes how the pre-titles link in to sort of things further down within that film. Whereas if you look at Goldfinger, for me, Octopussy, and to a certain extent, Living Daylights, although you do have the spionum side of it, it's not doesn't heavily influence compared to some of the others. They're like Goldfinger is a standalone pre-title.
Yeah.
Octopussy is a standalone pre-title, and they both rock. I suppose The Living Daylights does have quite a bit to it. So
it does link in quite a bit. Yeah.
But I'm intrigued to hear your third one. So what would be your
third one? Are you ready for this?
Okay.
GoldenEye. I love that pre-title sequence, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to take you a little run through. I'm going to take you on a journey, Chris.
Okay.
Right?
Let's do it.
I think it's brilliant. You know, from the opening shot, you got the plane going over that amazing dam. You've got Bond in his overalls running across the top. You don't see his face for a long time, and I love that. And you see the whole setup for the bungee jump, and it's like, man, that thing looks high. You see him setting it all up. You see it from above. You see him like just swan dive off that fucking thing. All the music just stops, and you've just got air as he's going down. That to me is on par with the ski jump off of Spy Love Me. That is one of those stunts that are just like fuck when you see it happen, and that's what a Bond stunt should do. It should do that. Piton gun at the end cuts through the roof, and like that whole I love it when Bond sneaks around, and there's a lot of sneaking in this one. He's in the facility. You know, lots of silence weapons going off, you know, hooking up with 006, and like just that whole thing. And then, you know, the one thing...
Sounds like I'm listening to Alan Partridge.
It is. You know, and then the one thing I wish they'd have done, and we've talked about this before, is instead of him like driving off the edge and then getting in the plane in midair, I almost wish the motorbike and the plane would have met as it was going over the edge. So he'd have bombed up. He'd have been holding onto the door as it goes over the side. Then he climbs in and pulls up. That for me would have been the better choice.
I tell you what, if that had been like that, that would have bumped up a lot more for me. I that's one bit which it's one of those bits I'm a bit like, If it would definitely have been probably top 5 if that had happened.
And what makes it worse is obviously that shot where you see him kind of like catching up with the plane is so obviously superimposed. It just doesn't look that good. So that is my gripe with it. But then I think the moment that just gets me is he pulls up, the plane flies away, the whole place is exploding, and then as it's going away in the distance, bling 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 bling. Fuck me, that is such a cool moment, and I've got chills just thinking about it. And then you've got that banging tune from Tina Turner. That for me, oh man, that is a pre-title sequence, and I absolutely adore it. And again, I think it might be like, you know, obviously a lot of people would vote Spy over this one because it's, you know, Spy is super iconic. And I think it's probably the same for me, like with you and Octopussy, it just has that, it got you at that moment in your life. And that, as I've said many times before, GoldenEye was that moment where the spark really kicked in for me. And fuck me. Yeah. So for me, Goldfinger, Living Daylights, GoldenEye. And yours were?
That's not bad. Like, so Gold, in order or not necessarily?
You can do it in order if you like.
I'd say, joint first, Octopussy and Living Daylights, and then Goldfinger just behind. Octopussy, I just love the fact that you think, how the hell is he's got a ground to air heat-seeking missile that's after him. He's in this plane, and how is he going to get out of it? And the way that he deals with it is the best thing ever. Completes his mission by using their own sort of missile to blow him up. I mean, I love Octopussy's pre-title, but that's interesting. Again, we've got two similar and one different. It'd be interesting to see what the JBO audience think. You know, if they had to choose 3 pre-titles, not necessarily in order, but any 3 pre-titles that you like. Would any of you have like Goldfinger? Any of you have Living Daylights, GoldenEye, or Octopussy, or 3 completely different ones? It'd be interesting.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's also like something like Live and Let Die, which is a super iconic one, isn't it? You know, everyone remembers the funeral procession and the body disappearing and stuff.
Music.
Everyone remembers that, but it's, you know, it's one of those that Bond doesn't even feature in, you know, so it'll be interesting to see what people come out with. But as Sam suggested, doing a full podcast on all the pre-title sequences is definitely on the cards. That is definitely coming up for sure. I've got myself all excited again.
All right, I'll better do the next one then.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so our next question was from Simon Hunter. And Simon said, "Hi, Tom and Chris. Regarding the debate who wouldn't die, or the debate that That wouldn't die, rather. Here are my thoughts regarding Idris Elba as potential James Bond. Talking from the viewpoint of a lifelong Bond fan, an Idris Elba fan, and a black man, I really don't think it's a good idea, and here's why. Every time he's mentioned in this debate, he's nearly always prefixed black actor Idris Elba. I grew up in the 70s watching blaxploitation movies or mainstream movies where black actors invariably had lesser roles or either sexually inert or villains who, either way, rarely made it to the end credits. Don't get me wrong, race relations have come a long way in the West since then, but the fact that people like Idris are still identified by their ethnicity before their name would shift the attention away from an established character towards the politics behind the casting, and I, for one, find it extremely patronising. This brings me to my second point about the character of Bond himself. The draw of Bond is that he's always been something of an enigma, and audiences are drawn in by trying to work out what motivates him and why he approaches situations the way he does. The fun is to draw your own conclusions. Portraying him as a black man would make a lot of that all too easy to explain away. Take the example of Vesper analysing Bond on the train. Although most of what she said was from the Fleming backstory, Bond's lack of direct acknowledgement suggested that it could still have been guesswork. I imagine if Idris were sitting there instead, she might just have asked, "Would you like some fish with that chip on your shoulder?" and left it at that. Those people on the political bandwagon just don't understand who Bond really is. I think most black Bond fans are perfectly happy seeing Bond portrayed as white and are still be able to identify with him, perhaps because he is an outsider who is able to overcome any adversity. Ian Fleming created a hero of Scottish and Swiss origin. Let's keep it that way. Idris Elba is a great actor, very charming and charismatic, and deserves a leading role in a different franchise. Plus, he only looks good with a beard. Now, that's not very James Bond, is it? Keep up the good work, Simon. So there we go. What do you think?
Interesting. Yeah, this one doesn't go away, and I've got some thoughts on this, and it's interesting to hear Simon's perspective on this. So we had the latest thing with this was Anthony Horowitz's comment, wasn't it, last week or the week before, where he said, which is just so ridiculous. Like the term racist and all that gets thrown around so ridiculously easy. And basically what it is Anthony Horowitz said he didn't think Idris Elba was right for the part. He thought he was a bit too street. And he suggested another black actor who he would prefer to see in the role. So then obviously the media take that one thing and basically accuse him of being racist, put that in the headline. And then there's this thing which is like, it's so common these days with Twitter and social media. It's like recreational outrage where people are just waiting for something to get the ump about. And there doesn't even need to be something to get the hump about. But if they can find a little fucking link, they'll link up so they can have a go at someone, they will do it. And that happens so often. So I think that's the fucking media's fault for being assholes and like blowing something out of proportion. Anthony Horowitz isn't a racist. He was in the same sentence he was suggesting another black man. So it is a debate that should be over by now, but it is kind of coming back and all the rest of it. And of course, it is a sensitive topic, and it's a lot of people are very sort of amped up about it and stuff. And it's almost like every time a black Bond gets mentioned, there are about 1 million comments in the comments section, 1 million shares on Facebook. So you can see why the media does it, because it gets attention for whatever reason. It just fires that thing off in people, and there's a lot of debate left and right about it, polarizing. So and I it's interesting to hear Simon's thoughts on it, and I think it's one of those things that it would be so different to have him in the role. It would be very jarring. It's one of those alternate universe things. I think he's a really charismatic dude, and I think if they did go down that direction, he would be the man for the job. But it's almost like another alternate universe one in the sense that like I would like to see it. But it won't happen at the end of the day. It won't happen. But it would be interesting to see. I think he could do a good job. And I don't know, it's just that weird thing in the media where they're trying to turn the screws and just wind people up about it. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think there is a consensus. If some people say, I don't want to see a black person portray Bond, that automatically makes them racist, and it's not. And I don't believe that's the case. But I think there's that sort of stigma attached to to having sort of phrases like that bandied about. And like Simon mentioned, Bond is a character, a Scottish Swiss character. Not to say that you don't get any Scots or Swiss that are black, sort of thing, but it's I don't know. It's an interesting. It's the sort of thing where race is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
You're always going to, like you said, just get an influx of differing opinions and from all walks of life, from everyone really.
I mean, it was another one, wasn't it, when Roger mentioned something about recently, and then the media took it and tried to frame him as it's just
like you said,
ridiculous.
the media are just arseholes, basically. Aren't they? They are just bunch of arseholes.
But as well, the type of people that tend to get outraged about that are ones who are just sitting there with nothing better to do that just want to get outraged about something.
Well, it was like when you wanted to you put some books on, didn't you, for some, and like as soon as you put it on Twitter, straight away it's those sort of people, isn't it? It's those people that will find anything to complain about or argue about or try and get other people into arguments about. And it's a sad state of affairs when we have people like that, and that's their joy in life. But that literally is the case with some people, and it's just a case of ignore them. Just don't give them the time of day, because that's what they thrive on. It's
kind of like, I feel like if you look for something hard enough, you can find it in any statement. Like, for example, if you came to me and said, "Oh, that's a nice pair of socks, Tom," and I went, "What do you mean nice pair of socks? Of course I've got a nice pair of socks on. Do you think I don't wear nice socks?" And make that an aggro thing about socks. I could do that if I wanted to.
I was a bit... when you actually said that to me, I didn't know you could have mentioned that on air. It was only like the other week when Tom came round and I mentioned it, and then he had a go at me. I was like, blimey,
but
it's a pair of socks. Like.
It's that, Anthony Horowitz says street, and then straight away it's like, oh, well, there's our link. There's our excuse to get mad.
Yeah, of course.
And there it is.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
But I think
it is just bullshit.
I've got the ump with it now. The whole Idris thing has been done to death so much. And the more we talk about it, the more we're playing into the press's hands of them just doing it for the sake of getting more clicks. It's clickbait at the end of the day. They want more clicks to their blogs. They want more comments so they can serve up more ads, and it just stirs up bad feeling, and it's bollocks. I tell you what, I would love to see Idris as a Bond villain. I would love to see him as maybe a fellow 00. Do you know what I mean? I think he would do a bang-up job at that. Brilliant. But, again, I wouldn't mind seeing him as Bond. I think he could do a good job, but, it won't happen,
age-wise. Anyway.
Age-wise, he's not the right age for it. And B, the outrage from when Daniel was announced for his blonde hair, if they had a black dude, it would just cause so much like aggravation. I think that would overshadow the whole film and the whole production, and it would just
exactly.
And it would be
that's exactly
like Simon saying, it would be about that more than it would be about Bond. So it's just not worth touching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. But bloody good question, Simon.
Good stuff. Yeah, thanks for getting in touch, Simon. Simon's actually a London-based driving instructor. So if you want driving lessons in London from a Bond fan, get in touch. He's U-Turn Driving. That's the letter U, uturndriving.com, or U-Turn Driving on Twitter. So yeah, you could get driving lessons and talk about Bond all the time. I
love all this promotion stuff.
It's good, isn't it? Why not give something back to the people? We've promoted about 3 or 4 podcasts today and some driving instructor lessons. Anybody else get in touch? Lovely. Good stuff.
Have we got any other questions?
So this is our last one, our final message of the day. This one is from William Vernon Jones. And he says, "Hey, Tom and Chris. Something has been bothering me for quite some time now, and I thought I'd bring it out with you guys. I've bitched about it on social media from time to time, but now that you're doing another mailbag episode, maybe I can get your take on it if you feel it's interesting enough. My issue is this. I fear Daniel Craig will almost certainly not do another Bond after Spectre, and the media and social media is to blame. It seemed like Skyfall had only just been released when all the speculation started about who the next Bond would be. It felt harmless at first, but I thought it was strange as Danny was only 3 movies into his 5-film deal. Then the speculation fucking snowballed and showed no signs of slowing down. I can't go a day anymore without seeing an article about who should replace Craig, often when I'm not even looking for Bond news. Think about that from Danny's perspective. You just made Skyfall one of the most successful Bonds of all time, and all anyone can talk about is who will replace you. He says he doesn't read articles like that, but one can't help but see headlines at least on a weekly basis. Who was it they were saying should replace him this week? Hugh Jackman. Who will it be next week? And the next, as it's been for a couple of years now. Not to mention tweets and Facebook posts that are cited. That has to have some effect on you. He's expressed a desire to leave the role and has said something like, someone would gladly wipe their ass with my contract if I really want out. At any rate, all the speculative articles really piss me off considering what a great Bond he's been, and we shouldn't be looking for a new Bond for a while. Nothing against you guys speculating. I understand the podcast is a different animal. Speculation among fans is fine and is always fun, and to some extent even expected. But do you see the difference? Do you feel like news websites reporting on this type of thing constantly gives the impression that people are wanting him to move on? I hope to hell I'm wrong and we get at least one more Daniel Craig Bond before he tosses his hat onto Moneypenny's hat rack one last time. Wouldn't it be a hoot to see Danny literally do that? Anyway, thanks guys for all that you do. William Vernon Jones, who's Echo13 on Twitter, so you can follow him as well. So what do you think about that?
Well, I guess part of it touches onto the previous discussion in terms of the whole, who's going to replace him? Again, it's the media just trying to get hits, isn't it? Trying to get people to just read like crap, basically. Yeah. From what I think regarding what William said there, it's we're coming up to a new release of Bond film. Anything Bond related is going to get people to read. That's one of them. But from Daniel's perspective, I think he's been in the game a long time. His relationship with Barbara and Michael is beyond anything that any previous Bond actor's ever had.
Yeah,
he's just done the most successful Bond film that's ever been in the franchise's history. He's got nothing whatsoever to worry about from his, from Eon's point of view. They like we've mentioned before, they're going to hang on to him for as long as they can, as long as he's willing to do it. That whole thing about him not wanting to do another one, we've seen what he said, and he didn't say that. He's obviously just shot 6, 7, 8 months working on it. He needs a break. He's obviously not thinking about the next one because no one could. You couldn't do it. So I think he enjoys being Bond. He loves being Bond. He's obviously has a great relationship with the director in terms of Sam at least, but definitely with Eon. I think obviously the money's going to be good. I think he's got no issue whatsoever from his point of view. He's seeing. I don't think he even bothers. I know. William said, "How can you miss it?" And okay, you might see a headline, but are you really going to sit there and read it all? Would Daniel, a person like Daniel, definitely not. He's completely confident in everyone behind him. He knows, he can put in as much as he wants into Bond, and ultimately, I think we'll definitely 100% get at least one more out of him. Hope, maybe and hopefully we'll get 2 more out of him after Spectre. And I think it's just as a Bond fan, it's just reading a lot of shit. Just don't take it in. Don't be swept in by it all.
Do you know what? I have a little bit of a different viewpoint on it than that. I don't think speculating on who the next Bond should be, I don't think that's an insult to whoever the current actor is. It's not like saying, I can't wait to be rid of this dude, let's find somebody better. I don't think that's what people are doing. It's certainly not what I do when I speculate on who can make a Bond actor. It's almost like you look at the current dude and be like, man, because it is as different as Daniel was when he was first sort of wheeled out at the very first press conference, and everyone was like, whoa, this is way different. And still, if you look at those pictures now and he's got his like blonde sort of curtainy hairdo, it was just like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, this is crazy. It is kind of mad, but like, I don't think it's an insult. It's almost, you could almost look at it as a sort of like a badge of honor in the sense of like, this dude is really good. Who on earth could we get to replace him? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, let's look through all these actors, see if there's anyone that could possibly hold a candle to what Daniel's doing. And I feel like that's what it is, Could you see this guy doing the job? Yes or no? I don't know. Maybe yes, no, whatever. And I feel like that's what it is. I don't think it's harmful unless it was people saying, I've had enough of Daniel. let's see him go after Spectre. I want this guy to take over for Bond. You know, the
and
next Bond.
occasionally you do see that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But in relation to the ratio of how many comments, it isn't about that, is it?
Yeah,
It's exactly what you said. It's just people thinking about other Bonds.
Because it's Bond is such a unique thing. Like, for example, say they were going to make a new, I don't know, here's a perfect example, right? They're going to make a new Star Wars movie that's about a younger Han Solo. So it's kind of like speculations arrive. Who on earth could hold up to Harrison Ford? Do you know what I mean? And the search is on to find whoever that actor's going to be. To me, that's more of a bonus point to Harrison because he was such an iconic character and did such a good job that it's like, fuck, who could you get to do that job? You know, it's crazy. And I feel like it's the same thing with Bond, is that there's a very specific and small pool of actors who could possibly pull it off, and trying to weed through and find one of those, and perhaps be lucky enough to find someone who's like, that guy would be great, and then one day he actually does get cast, and you could be like, I called that like 5 years ago or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is. Yeah. I find it quite entertaining, to be honest. What I don't like, especially now, I was all right with it before, is the whole Idris thing. I wish that would just go away, because it's just mean-spirited stuff now that's just trying to rouse up.
Well, we don't have
people.
To talk about it anymore.
No, let's not do it. We said we wouldn't talk about it before once more, and let's do it again. So any Idris news we're not going to talk about. But then people will probably call us racist for doing that. You just can't win, can you?
No, that's it.
Whatever. But there you go. So thank you for that question, William. Good stuff.
And to all the questions for today.
Yeah, there's been a good bunch today, isn't it? They've inspired a lot of good debate and conversation and good stuff. Good, cool, excellent work. Thank you for all your messages. So I suppose it's time to answer the Bond trivia question of the day, Chris.
Yes, it is.
So I went first, so I will go first again. Chris Wright.
Right.
My question of the day is, what does the Moonraker know?
Do you know what? I can't. I can't. I haven't got it. Wait. What everybody? I know it's a line, and I just wish I could remember what comes after it or before it. It's not what everybody knows. No. Can you give me a clue or not, or is it too easy?
I had one of these last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's a bit dodgy. How did it? Okay. I can't think. It's not a good night's sleep.
His dream will come true one day.
Oh,
there it is.
Course. Yeah. It's great stuff. Good question. Very good question.
Very much.
So Moonmaker knows that his dream will come true one day.
Wow, but yeah.
No, but it does. Excellent question.
Yeah.
Okay, so my Bond trivia question of the day was, Mr. Tom Sears, in the gun barrel sequences, which of the film showed Bond in a suit and tie, and which of the gun barrel sequences showed Bond in a tuxedo or dinner jacket?
Okay, so I think all of Sean's were in a suit and tie.
I would say you'd be correct about that.
George had a suit and tie.
He did indeed.
Roger. Roger, I think, had a suit and tie and a dicky bow.
In what films?
I can't. I think he would have had a suit and tie in Live and Let Die, and then when they reshot it, he'd have had a dicky bow.
But which film did they reshoot it for?
That would have been. You're punishing me today, aren't you? You'll be in.
I'm healthy. Right,
what film did they reshoot it for? Was it Spy?
Yes. So, suit and tie was Dr. No through to
Man with the Golden Gun.
Yes.
And then Dickie Bow from Spy onwards.
To when?
View to a Kill. And then Living Daylights, Timmy had a bow tie on, definitely.
Yeah.
Pierce had a bow tie on every time, I think.
He did indeed, yeah. So we've got a tuxedo bow tie from Spy to Die Another Day. So what about the last three?
Now, Daniel, this is where I'm going to get shaky. He obviously didn't have one in Casino. I think Daniel's got a shirt and tie on in his other ones, in Quantum and Skyfall.
He has indeed. That is 100%.
I'm pleased with myself.
Excellent. So he wears a suit and tie from Dr. No through to Man with Golden Gun, wears a tux dinner jacket bow tie from Spy through to Die Another Day. Casino Royale is like, he's kind of got that ripped open sort of shirt suit thing, isn't he? Kind of casual, I guess. And then Quantum and Spy, he wears a suit and tie in each. So that's brilliant, man. That's superb. Now, do you know what's funny? Is if you compare Daniel's gun barrel in Quantum to his gun barrel in Skyfall. Not only is it different because he wears sort of a darker suit in Quantum and the light grey in Skyfall, but the speed that he walks is completely different.
Really?
You see him walk in Quantum gun barrel, and he's almost running. He's like marching across the screen. Oh, sorry, I'll go again. So you see him in Quantum, and he's marching across the screen. He's just quickly turn, shoots, bang. Okay, now in Skyfall, he's almost like just walking so slowly. It's like he's just like chilling. I know what you mean.
It is strange. Funny. I remember thinking the Quantum one, he does look rushed, like he's sort of head bobbing and he's proper going. Like it is a.
But in comparison, Skyfall almost looks too slow if you watch them back to back. It's quite strange.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what we get with Spectre, but yeah. But cool. That was a good question. I'm impressed with myself that I managed to pull that off.
For an extra bonus point, which I think you'll get, in which gun barrel sequences does he wear a hat?
That would be Dr. No from Rush with Love, Goldfinger. Not Thunderball. Or does he? It's the same one, isn't it? I thought they would have reshot that though because of the Panavision.
Because Bob Simmons did the first three, didn't he?
Of course, yeah. All right. I don't know then is the answer to that. But he obviously wears one in Majesty's. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hazy on the last two Sean films.
Well, basically, Sean's gun barrel is the same in each one, apart from. So Bob Simmons did three. Yeah. Sean did from Thunderball to Diamonds, apart from George, and all of them wore a hat.
Very nice. All right, cool.
Three to Diamonds.
Good question.
Excellent. Good stuff.
Coolio. So it is time for the Guess the Quote round.
Bon, James Bond.
Well, I like what you've done there. What you've done is you've taken the formula, you've tried something different with it, and you've presented it in a new way, keeping things fresh, Chris. It's brilliant. It's like the Bee Gees style soundtrack in Spy Who Loved Me. It's brilliant. Love it.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Man.
I think that's kind of what we're going to see from Sam Smith's title song as well. As a lot of that.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Yeah.
Very nice.
Excellent.
So it was your quote last time, if I remember correctly.
It was. Yeah, it was indeed. So my quote last time was. I can't find the break.
Excellent.
Does that ring any bells?
It does. That was one of those that I was like, I'm sure I know that, but I didn't quite have it. Is it Live and Let Die?
Yes. Now, which scene?
Is it the airport chase sequence with Mr. Biggs' henchman? Very nice.
God, you're on form today.
I am on fire today. Nice. I know with the answers. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Excellent.
Cool.
I like it.
Excellent.
Have you got one for me this week?
My quote of the week is the following.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll perform it one more time.
Interesting. Yes, please.
I'll have to go now.
You can do 60s so well. Or is it,
well, how do you know it's 60s, Chris? It might not be. You never know.
Maybe it's 90s.
Maybe it is, yeah. You just don't know.
Or the noughties.
But no, thank you very much. So that's we'll answer that one next week, obviously. Now, last time we had a quote from a long-time JBR listener, Matthew Grice, which was this one.
I have a small favour to ask.
So, Chris, any ideas on that one?
Yes. Yeah, it took me a little while because I remembered so many scenes where Bond asked for a favour. Yeah, like, for instance, Casino Royale, when he's receptionist, where he's nicked the car, the DB5, and says, "Oh, could I ask a favour?" Quantum of Solace, he's at the airport, sorry, your car doesn't work. I've got can you do a favour for me or something like that? So he says it quite a lot. But there is only one time that I can remember him asking for a small favour, so I'm hoping that is the one, but I'm not 100% sure.
So, which one is it then? Let's hear it.
The only one that I can think of is when it's from Tomorrow Never Dies, when he's with Jack Wade, and they find out about the GPS encoder, and it's just the scene just before the Halo jump. So he basically goes to Jack Wade, I have a small favour to ask. And he's basically asking him to get him, where the ship is so he can Halo jump in. And that's the only one that I can think it might be, but I don't know for sure.
I have a strong suspicion that you're correct. We haven't actually heard from Gricey Pants with the answer yet. So get on it, Gricey. Let's hear. But I am confident that you got it right. I think that's what I went to as well. That's what I thought it was. Yeah,
did you?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So if you, gut feeling's good.
Coolio, absolutely. So next listener quote this week comes from Mr. Stu Bell. So let's have a listen to that.
Hello, chaps. Stu Bell here again from London, and this one you will either get straight away or never. But anyway, here's the line. Up there?
So, Chris, any idea on that one?
I like the quotes that aren't sort of huge sentences because it makes it a little bit tough if it's one or two words. And I liked it, and it's definitely I've definitely got an idea of who I think it might be.
I'm the same. I would say I sense that it might be a film that you're quite partial to. That's all I'm going to say. But there we go. We might be wrong.
We'll have to wait and see.
So thank you for that, Stu. Excellent performance, which brings us on to a nice little round of a game we like to call Guess the Music Cue. This is where Chris plays us a very, very short nugget of score, and we have to work out what fucking film it's from. So, Chris, we had one last week, didn't we?
Okay, we did indeed. So last week's one. Now this one, this is a good one. I like it. It's I think it's one that most people will be able to get. I think, but yeah, you'll definitely know the era that the era of the film anyway. So okay, let's should we have a listen?
Let's have a listen to last week's.
Okay, so there we are, Tom. What do you think of that one?
I am quietly confident that I've got this one, Chris. I'm going to say that is from Moonraker.
Yeah.
And it's the scene where Bond is investigating the lab before the scientists get gassed and die and all that kind of stuff. Now, interesting, we talked about this recently, in the sense that piece of music is exactly the same as a piece of music in Majesties, when he's in Peace Gloria and he's Bond's like they've attacked and all that kind of stuff. And is it that scene or is it the scene where Blofeld's doing his hypnotizing? One of those scenes anyway. Towards the end, there's that exact same thing. And I remember noticing that when we reviewed Moonraker. So there's John Barry recycling a little nugget. But excellent stuff, Chris. Thank you for that. What have you got for us this time?
That's all right. So now this one is quite a playful one. I like this one. It's again, it's not obviously they're not long, so I think this one is quite a recognisable one, but it is a good one. It's a playful one. So should we have a listen to this one?
Let's do it.
Okay, so any bells ringing there?
I like it. I'm confident I've got that one. It's very cheeky. I like it. It's nice.
It is.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought you'd get it. I think.
Blink, blink, blink. It's nice.
Yeah, I think quite a few people will get that one, but I thought it was kind of a fun one. So yeah.
Speaking of which, you know old Warren Ringham from Cue the Music?
I do indeed.
The world's greatest tribute band for James Bond. He was saying the other day, he reckons that you could play him any piece of Bond music, even less time than we use on Guess the Music Queue, and he'd be able to get it instantly. So that's quite a challenge.
Really?
I think we should get him on the show one day and really put him to the test.
So has he gotten it correct for all previous?
Well, he claims so, but we'd have to do it under very strict adjudicatory conditions.
I think so.
I think we'll get him on the show one day, and we'll fire off 10 and see if we can get him. And they're literally just like 1 second each or something. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll cut the time in half and I'll find 10 tricky ones.
There you go. You talk a big game, Wazza. We're going to put you to the test. Nice. Cool. So next up, we have Complete
the
Lyric
Section.
For any new listeners, this is a game where one of us quotes one of the Bond songs and we have to find the next line, which is harder than it sounds. It's not the song we're looking for, it's the next lyric. Complete the lyric. I've only just got to grips with those rules myself after many, many weeks of playing this game, but there we have it. So it was my one last time, wasn't it?
It was your one, yeah, indeed.
So I'm going to lay it on you deadpan. My lyric of the week is, I've been waiting long for one of us to say.
That's ringing. I know what song it's from, at least.
All right, go on, let's hear
bells. That. I think, is it Living Daylight?
It is, well done.
Ooh, right, okay. I'm feeling better with this one than I did the last one. I can't remember the last one I did, but can you say it again, or do you want to sing it properly, or say it again, deadpan?
I've been waiting long for one of us to say.
I'm just going to go with it.
Do it. Feel it.
Save the darkness. Okay, ready? Is it? Save the darkness and let it never fade away.
Whoa. You've only nailed it, Chris, in your first try.
Is it the right one?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm chuffed. That was a good one.
Well done, man. Excellent. There it is. Save the darkness, let it never fade away.
Never fade away. Oh,
very good.
Cool. I'm chuffed because I'm normally shit at those.
Aha.
Odd job. Okay, so I have a new lyric for you this week, which I will obviously do deadpan. And this one, I think you'll know the song like that.
Right.
And you'll probably know the line because you're good at these. But anyway, so my lyric for this week, Tom, is any woman he wants, he'll get.
Oh, yes. Very nice. Okay. I'm on the trail with that one. Definitely. Good stuff.
I thought you might be. Excellent.
Very nice. So that brings us on to our final game of the day, which is the Bond Celebrity Deathmatch.
Oh, yeah. Now, we've got an interesting one this week because, obviously, last time we weren't 100% sure between Alec Trevelyan and Xenia on the top. It was quite an interesting matchup, obviously, friends and stuff. What would happen if they were foes?
Yeah.
And we had pros and cons for each. Couldn't quite decide, put it out to the audience, but I can now say that the results are in.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have, in the red corner, Xenia on the top. Or maybe the blue corner, Xenia on the top, and the red corner, Alec Trevelyan. Okay, now, in third place. Now, this is not a win for Xenia and not a win for Alec, but a draw.
Okay.
So a kind-heart draw is, and that's 2% of the votes are a draw.
Okay,
so not many people, quite a few people thought there was going to be a victor. Okay.
That would suggest that they don't think they're that evenly matched if there was only 2% of the vote for a draw. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, now in second place, now this is with a score of 37%, okay? So we know that 2% draw, 37%, that's a big whack for the winner. That's 61%. 61-37, that's a big divide, okay? So, second place, and who is leaving James Bond Celebrity Deathmatch is Alec Trevelyan. And the winner, with 61% going to the next round, is Xenia on the top.
Well done.
So there we have it.
Congratulations to Xenia. Now, I must admit, after we finished recording last time, I did, after thinking about it for a little while, I was leaning towards Xenia a smidgen.
Yeah.
So
I was as well.
It was a tough one to decide, but obviously not for everybody else. Everybody else was firmly in favour of the honour top.
There were quite a few who were obviously Alec. I mean, 37% is still a chunk, but I mean, almost.
What we failed to take into account, though, Chris, really it was fairly obvious from the get-go, because what we failed to take into account is that Sean Bean dies in everything he's in. So that would have been the answer straight away if we'd have thought of that.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Indeed.
So there we go.
So I think it's time to go on to the next round now. We've only got 4 cards left of this next round. So obviously we've got a match this week and a match next week before we go into the quarterfinals. So rather than flick them, I'm just going to shuffle. And then when you say stop, this time I'm going to take the top card rather than the bottom. So whenever you say stop, I'll take the top card. Okay.
Stop.
So we can start now. Oh, okay. So that's the first one. And again.
Stop.
Oh, okay. There we are. So, in the gold corner, we have got... I love it when this happens. In the gold corner, we have Pussy Galore from Goldfinger.
Very nice.
Interesting.
That was good.
That's quite apt.
Yeah.
Which means in the silver corner, we have... Oh, now this could have worked either way, actually, with a previous one. Francisco Scaramanga, the man with a golden gun.
Hey, let's face it, should also be in the gold corner.
He should. So I think we've got 2 gold corners this time. So we've got Pussy Galore and Francisco Scaramanga. Now, what do we think about that?
Right. I tell you what, man, Celebrity Deathmatch is going to get harder and harder as the weeks go on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's weigh it up and down. Pussy Galore. Right. Okay. So she's got a flying squad, which is useful.
She has indeed.
She's got a team of cohorts behind her. She's good at judo.
Definitely.
She's she's a spunky one. She's not like a shy retiring violet. She's up there.
Yeah. Clever as well.
She's clever.
Intelligent.
Absolutely. She's an intelligent adversary.
She's extremely attractive and could easily lure someone with her beauty and magnetism.
Okay, so there's that. Let's have a look at Francisco. He is the world's greatest hitman, let's face it. He only needs one bullet to kill people. Well, okay.
Second.
Well, would you class Bond as a hitman, though? I wouldn't class him as a hitman.
Well, he classed Bond as a hitman, didn't he?
I suppose he did. That's a good point. Yeah.
Thing.
Okay.
Hitman working for the British government. But,
good point. So, he only ever needs one shot. So he's very good with his weapon. His skills are always kept in check from Nick Nack, testing him all the time in his fun house. He has his own private island. Nobody knows what he looks like, so that definitely plays into his hand.
But they do know he's got a third nipple, so if he's sunbathing, that might give the game away.
That is true. Okay, so let's look at weaknesses. Weaknesses for Pussy. What do you think?
Okay, well, no, what do we think? Weaknesses. I suppose, well, like although she is good at judo, perhaps she might not be as strong per se as some of the adversaries in things. But then the judo counters strength, doesn't it? It counters strength.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not a weakness.
See, the thing is with Scaramanga, we don't really see him get involved in hand-to-hand combat. It's all about that gun, isn't it?
We don't. Yeah. But also with Pussy Galore, she's got her ideal of moving to an island, putting a sign up and saying no one away. So she's definitely got, Scaramanga's got the money to sort of say, come over here and I'll give you this island. But then, actually it's a fun house. Let me, take you out. So, she definitely wants things in life, and perhaps Scaramanga could pretend to offer them to her.
And she is attracted to villainous men who have a thing for gold.
That is very true as well, without a doubt.
Okay, so weaknesses for Scaramanga. Okay, he's perhaps not. We never see him in a hand-to-hand fight, so perhaps Pussy would best him. You know, we've seen her do the old arm twist on Bond himself and throw him in the hay.
That's true. Yeah.
So perhaps she would be the hand-to-hand physical threat there.
Victor.
What other threats for Scaramanga are there? Other weaknesses for Scaramanga?
His, I suppose you've got to say about his thing with women, with Miss Anders. He obviously needs a quick one before he kills.
He does need to have a quick one, yeah.
So if Pussy wasn't obliging, maybe his shot would be off target.
That's obviously a good point, Chris. That is something I hadn't taken into account.
But, you know, trains the eye, doesn't it? I mean...
So I feel like here's where I'm standing so far on this. Okay. I feel like
he's got Knick-Knack as well. Don't forget,
he's got Knick-Knack as well. I'm leaning towards Scaramanga on this one.
Tell me the reasons why,
and I'll tell you why.
Okay,
he is a villainous mastermind, and Pussy Galore is a henchwoman to a villainous mastermind. She loves Goldfinger. So she's, you know, obviously she works for him.
Does she love him?
Well, love him is a bit strong, but do you know what I mean? She was his minion essentially.
Yeah.
So she's not a mastermind herself. She's, you know, she works for a mastermind. I feel like she could be attracted to Scaramanga's power, especially the gold angle, because he's got a golden gun.
Yeah.
And that once she's on that island, then she's in Scaramanga's funhouse, basically.
Don't forget Scaramanga's got that laser as well.
He's got the laser as well. So if she was flying to that island in one of our planes, he could shoot her down.
He could, definitely.
I would say if it was a hand-to-hand fight, then Pussy would have it. But otherwise, I think Scaramanga's got the upper hand. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you completely, actually. I think in the hand-to-hand, she'd be able to disarm him. If he, you know, she'd be able to chuck him around the place, but I don't know if she'd be able to kill him. Because judo's all about defense. It's all about trying to block attack and change the momentum and from like a physical attack. So if Scaramanga tried to hit her, she might be able to throw him over. So he could get bruised and battered, but I don't think, you know, it's not like she's got a death hold on him or something like that. And he is a fit guy. You know, you see him sort of in his
he's got a tracksuit, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean that's why I think he's fit. But you know what I mean. You know, he's obviously he's kept in tune. But I think the island, he could definitely lure her to the island.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, once she's there, I think there's only one outcome. I think she's great. I think she's definitely, like you said, she's got a lot of spunk. She's a proper sort of can look after herself. But without a doubt, I think Scaramanga, he's got too many assets to his character. Plus, you know, other things as well, like the laser, like Knick-Knack, obviously the golden gun. I think he's just got too many strings to his bow for Pussy Galore to overcome.
There we go. Okay.
And also, if she could try and seduce him, and he could just shoot her like he did with Miss Anders. So,
there you go. Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah. Rubs his gun all over her face.
Yeah.
Gets his end
away. Maybe it goes off by accident.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we've all had that problem in our time, haven't we?
Sometimes too often. So anyway, so I think going into the next round, we're going to happily say that Francisco Scaramanga goes into the quarterfinal.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well done, excellent Francisco. Stuff. A well-deserved victory.
So there we go. Excellent. So that means that next week we've got the last sort of match of the second round, and then it'll be quarterfinal time.
Very nice. Cool stuff. Exciting times.
Yeah.
So that about rounds out today's episode of James Bond Radio. Have you recovered from interviewing the Bongos last week, Chris?
Well, you know, you can't sort of recover, can you? Just slowly almost want to. It's almost a bit addictive. You just want to get a bit more, don't you?
Yeah. And, it's funny. I text my brother and said, I've just got off the phone with two Bongos. And his response was, nice dream, was it? And then I was like, it actually happened. And then, so very exciting times. Yeah, lovely to have Caroline and Martine on the show. Good stuff.
They were so nice. It's so into Bond still, which is fantastic. And just lovely people. So yeah, brilliant
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah. So James Bond Radio will return next week with a mystery episode.
Yeah,
so,
we're going to put out a little hint midweek, aren't we?
Yeah.
We'll put out a little hint.
So yeah, keep your eye on the old social medias, on the Facebook and the Twitters for that. Until then, I've been Tom Sears.
I've been Chris Wright.
And James Bond Radio will return with a mystery episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.